Hey, what's up, everyone? We are live. Welcome to the Demon Appreciation Podcast, episode 13. I am David, your host. Today is a very special episode because we're going to talk about something that isn't Atlus, which, for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know that doesn't happen too often. So that should be very, very interesting. And I'm joined by two amazing guests, first time on the podcast. So that should be a ton of fun. I am going to present you guys in just a second. Their links are in the description below as well. So if you're interested in hearing more awesome content, whether it's Atlus stuff or not, you're at the right place. Check out their channels. I'm joined today by the man himself, Strain42. How are you, dude?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for being here. It should be a ton of fun. I really appreciate you being here. And we also have...
Good time.
Hell yeah. We also have BaoZakeruga. How are you, man? Glad to have you on.
I am great. Thanks for having me on. Hello, everyone.
Awesome. So again, their links are in the descriptions below. If you want to check them out once we're done with the podcast, I suggest doing that. So both of you guys, actually, I've been watching your content for a while now. Both of you, even before I started to do content on YouTube. And I know that you guys are playing other stuff than just Atlus stuff. So I had a good idea that I wanted to have you on for this particular episode, because today we're going to talk about what do we play that aren't, what games do we play that aren't Atlus games? So basically anything, any genre, from an indie game to a massive AAA game. It can be anything. As long as it's not Atlus, we can definitely talk about that. So it should be a ton of fun. As always, if you guys have any questions in the chat while we're going and talking about games, go ahead and ask the questions and we'll do our best to talk about it. One last thing before we start, I also want to mention, let me know, as always, if there's anything that I should update with the volume. I really do appreciate when you guys let me know if there's any issue, just so we don't end up with a 2 hours podcast with bad audio or anything. So you guys good to go?
Yeah. So before we get started, I actually had one very quick, specifically Atlus related question. I know this is a podcast where we're not talking about Atlus games, but just real quick, because I'm always curious. Like, when I play Atlus games, I pretty much only play Megami Tensei. I never got into Etrian Odyssey. I really didn't play a lot of Trauma Center or even Catherine or Radiant Historia. Just real quick, I'm wondering do you guys play a lot of Atlus stuff outside of Megaten, or are you purely Megaten fans?
Good question.
I definitely touch on a little of everything, especially with Atlus. So yeah, not even just Megaten. I love all this stuff.
Let me look at my shelf real quick. I'm a big fan of Trauma Center. You know, that Dead series that was on the DS and the Wii. I am a big fan of that series. I love Vanillaware stuff as well. And okay. I don't play Etrian Odyssey either. Yeah, I think that would be it. So I don't play everything, but I do love a few series. I think they make great content in general.
Yeah.
Cool. Great question. We have a list. We each have a list of games and series that we want to talk about for today. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. Do anyone want to start with a first game, a first pick, a first series?
I'll go first.
Sure.
So my first series is actually the Xeno series.
Yay.
Xenogears, Xenosaga, and Xenoblade.
We're starting strong.
Yes.
I kind of want to hear your story with this series, if possible. Have you been playing the games for a long time? Did you just recently found out about them? Let's hear it.
No, I've been a fan for probably close to going on 15 years, maybe. Because for those that don't know, Xenogears is my favorite game of all time. And, well, okay, my story with Xenogears is actually a little funny because I tried playing it probably 15, 16 years ago, and my save data got corrupted, so I had to stop. So it wasn't until probably 2014, 2015 where I revisited that, and that's when I truly fell in love with it. But in between that time, I played Xenoblade Chronicles 1 on the Wii, and that game just blew my mind because I had no expectations going into it. I just figured I want a new game to play, I have nothing to play, and I tried it, and it was freaking amazing, top 10 JRPG of all time, that level for me.
Hell
and
yeah.
After that, I played the Xenosaga games, which are good, but I prefer Xenoblade and Xenogears themselves.
Mm-hmm. Interesting that you brought up the Xeno series because, well, first, they were on my list as well, definitely. Actually, Xenoblade in particular was my first RPG that I wanted to talk about. Xenogears, and yeah, that's kind of a shame. I know, don't tell me. But I haven't played. Xenogears is on my backlog, and it's been on my backlog for the longest time, so I really want to jump in. I really don't mind playing a PS1 game right now. I tend to go back and play older games every day, so that's not an issue for me. Is there any other version, like the PlayStation 1 version, that I could pick up? Is there ports for this one? I don't think there's ports.
For Xenogears, the only way you'll be able to play is off like PS3 on the PSN, other than PS1.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
I will definitely check it out. But when it comes to Xenosaga, I had a hard time with it. I think the story is like, it's kind of rough, but I think it kind of drags on at times. It's a bit long. The pacing was kind of weird to me.
Yeah, out of all the Xeno games, Xenosaga definitely has like the longest cutscenes, the most abstract ideas, and it doesn't help that it was originally supposed to be 6 games, but they had to trim it down to 3, and that just messed things up as well.
Yeah, like I can see when playing them that their quality and stuff. I just don't necessarily think they're for me. Now, on the other hand, Xenoblade, I really like. Definitely. Started with Chronicles on Wii, replayed it last year on Switch, and I still adore it. What a great game. Xenoblade 2 is great. I don't think it was that as good. Torna was amazing as well. And we should not forget, of course, Chronicles X, which is not on Switch, but it's still a good game. Bao, I know you're a fan of mechs. Did you play Chronicles X?
Oh, yeah. I bought that day one. That was actually the first collector's edition I ever owned.
Cool one as well. I love the box art.
Yeah, it's really great. But yeah, I love that game. As soon as it gets announced on Switch, that's a day one for me. Cannot wait to revisit that.
Definitely. John, Xeno series?
So I've actually never played any of them, so I really don't have any opinion on that. Xenogears is one a lot of people have told me is really, really good, and I probably should go back because it's like I like a lot of PS1 era JRPGs, even some that aren't considered that good. But yeah, I think like Xenosaga, I remember learning about when I was in like I think it was like middle school, high school, and I think I had a crush on Cosmos. That's really the most I have to say there.
Amazing character design, by the way, for Cosmos.
Yeah, good design. And then like really the only Xenoblade interaction I have at all, and this has nothing to do with me playing it or anything. There was one time on Twitter I asked people, like, I was like, what game do you associate with me? And a lot of people were like, oh, Persona 3 or Tokyo Mirage Sessions or Glover. And one guy said Xenoblade Chronicles, and I was like, do I just give that vibe? Because I've never played that game. So I wasn't sure how anyone would associate that game with me, but I've heard good things. I've just never played it.
All right. Well, that was a very good pick for a first series because very, very legendary series for the Xeno series. I highly recommend it if you wanna jump in for sure. We received 2 donations, which I want to go over. Thank you so much, guys. I really do appreciate that. We have my man Peter Parker coming in with the donation. I will actually, Peter, put your comment on hold for just a second because I have something to say about your message here. So I'm going to head into the second donation, which is from Demi Crow. Thank you so much, Demi Crow, for the support. As always, I really appreciate that. He says, I think everyone should play Mario RPG or Yakuza 7. I never played
great games.
Yeah, never played Mario RPG. Yakuza 7 was amazing, though. Very close to being my game of the year last year.
I really want to play 7. I really do.
Yeah, that was my, I think that was my number 2 last year, and I think the only reason it wasn't my number 1 was because, I mean, I played Animal Crossing every day since it came out, including today, so, I felt like it kind of earned that Game of the Year spot for me. But yeah,
awesome.
7 was fantastic.
Oh yeah, man. Amazing music, great pacing for the story, amazing cast of characters, actually. Honestly, when, the game came out a long time ago in Japan, it took a long time before we got it, and I was watching content, obviously not understanding anything because I can't read Japanese, and I was looking at the characters and I was like, I think, except Ichiban, I thought they looked kind of average. I didn't know if I would really enjoy the cast of characters, but boy, I was really wrong because they're amazing. Ton of fan service as well near the end of the game, which I'm not going to spoil for those of you who didn't play it. But man, no, Yakuza Like a Dragon is amazing. Great reboot for the series. The combat system is fantastic as well. Great music. I only have great things to say. And you know what? My favorite thing about the Yakuza series, or at least one of my favorite things, is the side quests. How amazing are the side quests in those games?
Oh yeah, the sub stories are what make Yakuza like really stand out. Like if you didn't have those, you'd have a relatively short, still very good kind of like Japanese drama action game, and it would be fine. But it's like the sub stories are where it really shines, and it can do whatever. Like almost anytime you see screenshots where people are like, "Oh, here's the wackiness of Yakuza," it's almost always from a sub story.
Definitely.
I think one of my favorites ever. It's somewhat of a meme. I think it's from Zero, if I recall. Because a lot of them do kind of blend for me a little bit, but where it's like Kiryu's helping this girl who's like not from Japan, so she doesn't speak English very well, and he gets the word visa confused with pizza, and there's just a moment where like Kiryu's just like, she's gonna get deported, and it's all because of my damn pizza. Just like,
you don't find those jokes and those things in other games, and honestly, in general, you don't find a lot of memorable side quests, at least as memorable as in the Yakuza series. Honestly, like I can talk about a bunch of sub stories in Yakuza right now and drop them like that. I can't for a bunch of other series. So that says a lot, and it's great. Most of the time when people say like, "Oh, I beat Yakuza Kiwami in 18 hours," I'm like, bruh, what about the sub stories? Go ahead, go back and play them. They're amazing, honestly. I'm a big fan of the Yakuza series.
Yeah, I bought the first one not the first one, but like Kiwami on a whim, just kind of a few years ago, and yeah, just immediately just fell in love with it.
Definitely. Anything else to say about Yakuza before I head into Peter's comment? I think that sums it up. Cool. So, Peter, I definitely wanted to talk about this series, so I'm going to bring it up right now. He says, I recommend Kisegi/Trails series if you don't mind. I think, Bao, you're a fan, right? Trails?
I am. I've played all, I think, current 9 games, except the 10th one only out in Japan right now.
Awesome. So we will have to talk about this series for just a bit because I tried. I tried to like I really did last year. Okay, I tried to play the games, and I started. That might be the mistake. Okay, I tried to play the Trails of series, and I started with Cold Steel. I started with Cold Steel 1. I know everyone told me to start with Trails in the Sky, but I didn't. I started with Cold Steel, and I really liked the story. I like where it was headed. I like the political stuff in it and stuff. I think it's great. The gameplay, especially the combat, I couldn't get into. I really couldn't. I don't know if that's something that you hear often, Bao, for Trails of.
Usually it's more the opposite, actually. People think the games are slow and that it's just not interesting. There is someone I know who didn't like it for the combat, though. But I will say the combat does get better as you go along, especially at 3. But if you're not feeling it at 1, then I can't blame you for stopping there. And I also will say you probably picked the right choices starting with Cold Steel, because even though games start with Sky, Cold Steel is more accessible.
That's what I thought. That's why I started with this one.
There's no real bad reason to start with Cold Steel, but yeah.
I think the Trails of series, at least Cold Steel, is probably the first game or first series that comes to mind for me when I talk about a series that I know is quality. It's just not for me. You also mentioned an interesting point about the game being slow. I did realize that it took a certain time before it started, but I liked the cast of characters, and once it starts, I think it flows very well. For me, it really was only the combat. I don't know. It's very different from anything else that I played, and I thought it was really hard as well. Maybe I just suck. I thought it was really hard. Is it? Is it a hard game?
Slightly above average, I guess. Well, it really depends. It's like Final Fantasy VII in the way that you can easily break the game with the court system if you really want to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess the difficulty really depends on how you set up your characters. Like if you don't like make really busted setups, and yeah, it can be really challenging. Although the games do get easier after 2. So yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, and I know that they're also all like you to play 3, you have to have played 1 and 2 when it comes to at least Cold Steel, right? They're like a direct sequel.
3, you need all 3 all 3 Sky games, both Crossbow games and Cold Steel 1 and 2.
Okay, so we're on that
time sync.
Okay, we're on that Kingdom Hearts thing with Trails of. Okay, I didn't know that. I knew that there were sequels. I didn't know that it was that much. So yeah, definitely. We have Peter here. He says as well, Trails in the Sky is one of the slowest games of all time. So that says a lot. Love the art style though. The music's also fantastic. At least in Cold Steel 1, I really liked it.
Oh yeah, music definitely amazing in the Trails games.
Absolutely. John, did you ever play the Trails of series?
I have not. I've had a lot of people suggest it to me, and it's kind of become a running joke on my Twitter that I will play it the day I'm actually able to correctly say one of the names of the games, because I can never remember. I'm like Trails of Steel in the Sky Trials. I'm just like, I never remember what to call them. Like I was at GameStop. Like what's the one that just came out on Switch? I'm like Trails of Cold Steel 4. I think is.
4's about to come out, right? On Switch.
On Switch, I don't know.
On Switch, yeah. Okay, yeah, but I'm just like, I can never remember if it's like Trails or Trials or Steel or Sky and people are like, no, it's Switches, and I'm like, I just don't. Like, I get thrown up by the name. That's how bad I am about it.
I have the same problem with Tales of. I don't know why. They're easy to remember. I confuse all of them. I'm like, people are like, oh yeah, you should play the one on 360. I'm like, oh yeah, Tales of Symphonia, right? No, that's the one on GameCube, and I don't even know if that's correct.
That one is. So I actually do have so I love the naming series of Tales of. I admit I could never tell you which one's which. I'm like, I think one of them's like Vesperia and Bersaria and Flobbity Fair. I don't know. I do like the Tales of idea. I wish I could remember any of the other names. My history, I don't know if you guys play that series. My history was Symphonia came out for the GameCube, and again, people told me it was really good, and that was kind of back when I played a lot more JRPGs. I really don't play a lot of new ones now. But people were like, you should play Symphonia, and I was like, I'll get on that. And then I didn't. I played Skies of Arcadia instead, which is a really good game, by the way. And then I was like, at some point, I was like, all right, I'll play whatever the next Tales of game that comes out. And I don't remember when I said this, but the next one that came out was Tales of the World Radiant Mythology, I think it was called, for the PSP. Yep. And so I was like, and true to my word, I bought it, I picked it up, I played it, did not realize that was apparently like the big crossover game that makes no sense to someone who's never played any entry in the series. Was just completely lost and not bored, but just super confused and just couldn't get into it. And then for just very petty and dumb reasons, I've just not touched the series since. So the only one I've played was the giant crossover one on the PSP.
Interesting. It's a long-running series as well. I only played Symphonia on GameCube. I kind of want to...
So you haven't played in a long time.
Yeah, definitely. But I played Tales of Symphonia like very late. I played it like during the PS3 era. Like mid-PS3 era, so it's been a long time. Actually, I think it's... was it a remake or a port that was on PS3?
That was a port of the PS2 version we never got here in the West with added content.
Okay, so when this one came out, before it came out, I was excited to play it, and I bought the GameCube version, and that's when I play it. So that's the context for it. Weird time, but I enjoyed it. Great game. I have no clue why I never played any of the other ones, though. Kind of want to play, Skies of Arcadia. Skies of Arcadia on GameCube.
I highly recommend that game.
That looks amazing from the Dreamcast.
Kind of going to what we said earlier about like side quests. in games, one of the big ongoing side quests in that game is, so you only have like 6 party members, but you can amass a giant crew. And I loved that side quest of just going around the entire world and finding these like special characters. And you're like, okay, this person is your ship's navigator. This person is the ship's cook. This person is like just collecting these characters. And they do have a role in battle. They do like this giant, like full crew combo attack. I loved that. I was so addicted to getting like every possible crew member. Yeah, very, very, very fun. And
nice.
Then even the ship combat was pretty good, if I remember. I haven't played it in a while, but I remember it being pretty good.
I keep hearing good things about this one, and my old man reason of why I never played it is because I want a physical copy. It's like way too expensive. So
yeah, that game's crazy expensive these days.
It really is.
I don't blame you at all.
Yeah,
that's why like I keep hoping, you know, not to say this about every game ever, but put it on the Switch. Like just.
Oh yeah, it deserves it. Any platform, I'd like to play it on a recent platform. That would be great. Great game. King Rukumi here in the chat brings up a few series that he likes that says that aren't from Atlus. And there's one in particular that I also wanted to talk about, not because I'm a fan, but because I keep getting recommendations to play it, but I never did. He says his picks are Yakuza, Uncharted, The Last of Us, God of War, Guitar Hero, and Rock Band, and Danganronpa. And the one that I wanted to talk about was Danganronpa, because this series, everyone says I should play it, but I never did. So, did you guys play the series?
I love the series for the most part. I recently just got done with the 3rd game, and I have some interesting thoughts about that. But other than that, the series is phenomenal. Like, the first game is probably my favorite game on the PSP.
Oh,
and
on PSP?
That's saying a lot because I like a lot of games on the PSP. So yeah, it's really, really good. Have you played Ace Attorney?
Oof, yes I did, and I want to talk about this one because that's one of my favorite series. That's one of the reasons why I want to play it. People are like, oh, but Danganronpa's fan base is kind of close to the Persona fan base, if that makes any sense. I think, at least.
I can understand what you mean.
And I keep hearing that it's similar to Ace Attorney, and I'm a massive Ace Attorney fan, so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to check this series out. I bought the trilogy for Steam, so I really have no reasons to wait and not play it because everyone says it's great. Like we have the chat right now saying that it's great, so I really should play it. Honestly, I heard it's great. John, did you play Danganronpa?
So I have the trilogy for the PS4. I bought the physical copy, and I'm gonna kind of bite my tongue a little bit here, and I will just say, so I Danganronpa. I played a very little of the 3rd one. Danganronpa is probably one of my least favorite games that I've played all the way through. I beat both games, and like the entire time I was like, why am I still playing this? But I was invested enough to finish it. So I'll give it credit there. The main reason I played it is because a lot of people were like, oh, if you like Ace Attorney, you'll like Danganronpa. And they do have similar gameplay, about like the whole trials, and you use like evidence to kind of contradict statements. But other than that, I don't think they're that similar. I think it's very, very possible to like one but not the other.
Okay. Well, obviously, without any knowledge of Danganronpa, I can see that they tackle different topics and that the characters are very different. That's something that's very apparent. But yes, I knew about the trials and stuff. But I'll try them. I'll try the games at some point. I would assume 1 is the first game that I should play.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
Start with the first one.
Okay, cool. Will do. We have another donation, $2 from my man Demicro. Thank you so much for your support, dude. That means a lot. You're always coming in with the support, and I really appreciate it. He says,
yeah, thank you.
What would you think about a Zelda turn-based RPG? And that's an very interesting question. Also, I gotta mention, Demicro, your questions are always very, very original, and I do appreciate that. What would you think about a Zelda turn-based RPG? Baho, go ahead.
Sort of funny you mentioned that because There's a game on the SNES that essentially is that, even though it's not Zelda, but it plays like a Zelda game outside of combat. You're solving puzzles, going around the world map, etc. But in combat, it's more like Final Fantasy, and it's called Lufia 2.
Oh,
So
I
if
heard
you-
the name.
So if you ever wanted like that type of game, definitely check it out. It's also aged amazingly, so it's still worth the play.
Is that on Switch Online?
I want to say no.
You said NES or SNES? SNES, right?
Yeah, Super Nintendo.
Okay, I'll check it out while we're talking. But yeah, I heard the name. Never played it though. Turn-based Zelda RPG for me, I'd say I kind of want to say yes because I'm a big fan of Zelda and I'm also a big fan of turn-based RPGs as a whole. But I'm kind of scared because I don't want them to mess it up. Like I really don't want a new take on Zelda to be bad. Because almost all the games are great, so that would hurt me if that makes any sense. But I think that there's potential. I think there's potential there. Will they do it though? Not too sure.
I would I'd definitely give it a try. Like I'm not gonna say it's something I'd actively hope for, but if it came out, I think that'd be pretty cool. I'd really like to see. I want to know like who the party members would be. You know, like would it be similar to something in like Breath of the Wild where you get like kind of the representative from each race, or would it be, you know, like I kind of want to know who the backup characters would be, because Link would have to probably be a silent protagonist, and I don't think he'd carry a story-based RPG as well without an interesting follow-up cast.
That's a good point.
And also, the funny thing, as soon as I heard Zelda turn-based, my mind immediately went, yes, but I think I'd rather see like a strategy RPG, and then I realized I think that would basically just be Fire Emblem.
Yeah, in a way. Would Nintendo tackle 2 of their first-party series as a strategy RPG though? I'm not sure.
Probably not. I mean, I don't know, maybe, but I know like I remember a big part of the reason why Paper Mario got kind of shifted was because there was that one interview where they were like, well, we already have the Mario and Luigi RPG, so we don't need Paper Mario to be an RPG.
Which the series dead now, by the way.
Yeah, and yeah, unless something changes, I don't know. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we see another one day, but now I'm just a little salty about Paper Mario. I actually liked Origami King quite a bit, but yeah, I'm definitely one of those fans that loves the Mario story era games, which is the first 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I won't harp on about that though.
I don't have a lot to say about this series because I only played the 1000 Year Door. So
I mean that's a good one to play. But...
Yeah, well, that's the thing. People are telling me, well, you played the best one, so you might as well stop there. But then I hear other people saying that there's others that are great, like the N64 one and the...
Yeah, I would still absolutely recommend the N64 one. Like, I do think Thousand Year Door is probably a better game, but I think the N64 one is still really, really good.
Oh yeah, definitely. We have Gideon West here in the chat. I don't know if my pronunciation was correct for your name. I'm sorry if I destroyed it. But the question is, thoughts on Phantasy Star, whether it's the original series or online series. I know it's a legendary series, but I never played anything Phantasy Star. What about you guys?
I've also never played. I think I played a very, very, very small amount of like one of the fan translated Genesis ones when I was young. When I was just kind of like looking for fan translated RPGs, but I know nothing about the series.
Bao?
Me, I played Phantasy Star Online too, both when it was only available in Japanese and the community translated the entire game, and with this official English release. I actually wanted to play it on the GameCube back in the day because it was actually an MMO on the GameCube. Yeah, with the massive, freaking amazing.
The keyboard controller. That's where it's from.
I love that controller.
That's a crazy controller.
Yeah, I never got the opportunity to play that version, but I have played Phantasy Star Online 2, and I am looking forward to that big update they're doing for it. They're like revamping the entire battle system, the graphics, and everything. So that might get me to come back to it.
Yeah, definitely. The game's aged interestingly, like, yeah, the online games, I think they still look great, but the older ones, like the Genesis ones, when you look at them, you're like, ooh, they're kind of like the older Shin Megami Tensei games, like 1 and 2, or if like they aged. I kind of want to, make sure that I don't say anything too bad, but I don't think they aged that well, to be honest. That's just my opinion. They would probably need a bit more work. I don't know about the gameplay, though. I'm just talking about the visual style now, because I don't know anything about the gameplay. I think they're they're first-person dungeon crawlers as well, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like, I don't remember if this is in the Famicom one or not, because most of my experience is actually with the iOS port they did. But like, I just it's the lack of a map makes it a little confusing. Like, there's like a map spell you can cast that gives you like a temporary mini map. I don't remember if that was in the original game or not, or if it was added later. But it was sorely needed because almost everything just looks the same.
Okay, gotcha. We have another donation from Demicro. Thank you so much, dude. And that's an interesting question. And of course, we got to talk about Atlus because, we have a question. He says, are we getting SMT Cross Fire Emblem before SMT5? That's probably a question skimming over the existence of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, even though I like Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
The game is fine. It's just, for me, it's always a sore spot of what could have been.
That's the
thing. You can do so much with those two source materials.
Absolutely.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions is just not what that game should have been.
I mean, I 100% agree with that. The one thing that I always say whenever someone brings up SMT Cross Fire Emblem and Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I always say Tokyo Mirage Sessions is a very good game on its own, but I don't want to believe it's SMT Cross Fire Emblem. SMT Cross Fire Emblem in my mind was Devil Survivor Cross Fire Emblem. Not
pretty much, right?
not Tokyo Mirage Sessions, but that doesn't change the fact that Tokyo Mirage Sessions is a great game. It's fun, great music, amazing gameplay. Story, I get it's not for everyone, but I think there's good things in it, in my opinion. I liked it personally. That's kind of a hot take, believe it or not, but I would like a Tokyo Mirage Sessions too.
Oh yeah, me too.
I don't think a real Devil Survivor Cross Fire Emblem is gonna happen anytime soon, unfortunately. So, yeah.
My personal little theory for what might happen is if anyone out there plays the mobile game Shin Megami Tensei Liberation D2, which is like the Mega 10 gacha game that actually does have like a really good story and has some pretty high moments, I think. But they've done some very interesting crossover events. They've crossed over with Bayonetta and Devil May Cry and Guts from Berserk and even like the new Ghost in the Shell.
Even today, a new crossover with Berserk today, right? That they announced, or yesterday?
I don't know if I've actually seen that. I don't know if is it a new one or is it a repeat of the last event?
Oof, maybe someone would be able to confirm in the chat, but I didn't read Berserk, so I can't tell. But
I'll check it later. But so the joke I've been kind of making is that like I would not be surprised if we got a Fire Emblem event in D2, and that would officially be Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, which I think would be hilarious, but I think would also make people kind of mad.
Probably. But I mean, DX2 is more Shin Megami Tensei than Tokyo Mirage Sessions 100%. So
definitely.
It's not bad.
The cast actually reminds me a lot of Devil Survivor. It's that kind of very similar vibes to me.
I can see it. Yeah. Not as good, of course, in my opinion. But...
yeah. One quick thing. I know we're not talking about Alice. One quick thing I do just want to give full praise to that game for. I think that game has some of the best human-demon interactions we've ever seen. There are some fantastic, like one of my favorites is they did a whole event with the demon Silky, who's like that, like, you know, that maid fairy.
Yep.
And she's protecting a house like she does in mythology, and there's like these punks that try to like rob the place, and she's about to kill them, and the way she gets talked out of it is like the maid and the butler for the D2 are like don't do it. Like, do you know how hard it is to get blood out of a carpet? It's just, and she's just like, oh god, that's a good point. I don't want to clean that.
That's so FMT.
It's very funny. I love it.
I bet. I mean, I played DX2 for not a long time, actually. I tend to play it when I just have nothing else to do. Like, I don't have... Because I found myself, like, it's interesting that you brought up the story for this one and you said it was great because you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I probably played like 3 to 4 hours and not only the story, of course. And I think it's not... Well, from what I played, it didn't hook me. I felt like it was kind of... meh.
I think it's kind of a slow burn. I'll definitely grant that. I think it actually got really good towards the end of season 1, but like to get the demons you need for that and to get that far into it, that is a huge ask. So it's like I absolutely get someone just not necessarily caring. But I thought it got really good when you like actually got into the villains and like. They introduced 2 new characters during the intermission between season 1 and season 2, named like Vince and Sweet Honey, and I love them. They are some of my favorite characters. I love Vince. He's super fun.
Don't think I reached that point yet, so I should definitely jump back in at some point. But the thing is, my Megaton backlog is freaking huge, so I have other stuff that I'd rather play beforehand.
So real quick, to kind of segue a little bit, get us off Atlus, because this is supposed to be a non-Atlus podcast.
We just had a message in the chat. When we aren't talking about Atlus, we talk about Atlus.
yeah, exactly.
That was to be expected.
Just real quick, I'm curious, do y'all have any, like, mobile games that you play every now and then, and like a favorite mobile game? One I kind of started playing recently was the Dragon Ball Legends, which is like the Dragon Ball gacha RPG. And I got launched this morning, and I was really excited about that. That made me very happy.
Nope, never. I'm definitely not a mobile person.
Not a mobile game? Okay.
Yeah.
There's only one I play. Among my group of friends, I know that's like the mobile hater. Like, I just don't like mobile games, but there was one I played, I think last year, that finally really caught my interest and I like, and it's Tales of Cristoria.
Okay.
I tried it somewhat on a whim. It's a big change from the rest of the Tales series, one because it's turn-based and not like real-time action. And the story's actually really good. Like, it's worthy of being a mainline Tales game, and it's really dark, and it had me invested, so I could overlook all the other like mobile stuff in it because that was so good I didn't mind. So yeah, that's like the only mobile game I can really stomach and I actively like.
Okay, fair enough.
I used to play a lot of mobile games. I definitely don't play as many now, but yeah, I used to play tons. And actually, one of the main games I wanted to talk about today started as a mobile game. If I can just dive into that now, is that cool? Like,
Yep. If you don't mind, I maybe just go over. We had 2 other donations. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. I'll just go over those, and then we can definitely head into. Don't forget your idea, though.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for the donation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. First one is from C Lux. Thank you so much. $5 donation. I really do appreciate that. He said personal recommends Code Vein, DMC, Valkyria Chronicles, and the Fable series. Not JRPG, but one of the funniest games I've played. Interesting picks.
I love Fable.
Fable's great. Valkyria Chronicles, only played the first one, but I really liked it. That's also in my pile of shame. DMC, same thing. Only played the first one, but I liked it. And Code Vein looks interesting. I will pick it up once I can find it for very cheap.
Code Vein is the, like, anime Dark Souls, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Just making sure I had the right game.
It looks interesting. Nothing more, I'd say. Looks great. Gameplay looks fun, fluid, and such. And then we once again have my dude Demi Crow. Thank you so much for the $2 donation. Interesting questions. Once again, he says, "What series would you like a Warriors spin-off of?" Demi Crow, you're leaving me with no other options but to jump right into Atlus once again, and I would say mainline Shin Megami Tensei, definitely. Not just mainline, actually, just everything Megami Tensei except Persona in one game. Even It could even be with Persona. I don't mind. I just want to see like, oh yeah, it has to be with Persona. I want to see Raito / Teddy in half or something. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, Megaten Megami Tensei is definitely the one. And that's why I was so happy when Strikers was announced. Like before we saw what it looked like and people were mad, I was one of those people being super excited because I have like tweets from 2016 of me being like, so when are we getting that Megaten Musou game? Like, but I'm trying to think like what I would like for something that's not Megaten.
Not Megaten. Any picks, Bao? I think the Xeno series would be a great pick, actually.
It's funny we talk about this because my last video was literally counting down 10 series I want to see.
Really?
Warriors games. Yep.
I remember. Yeah, you posted that.
Yeah, so just a few from that list. The Xeno series, Super Robot Wars, which is another obscure, really great RPG series I love. I said, we're talking about games, right? No other like anime, etc.
Oh yeah, anything.
Trying to remember. I just made this. I spent like 10 hours working on this. I can't remember the list.
It happens.
Yeah, Xeno, Super Robot Wars. I'm trying to remember just one more. Oh, Final Fantasy, because that would just be perfect.
Definitely.
That would be a good one.
In the last Dissidia's art style or graphic style, because I think that game looks great.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, would it be like Dissidia, where we'd have characters from like every Final Fantasy, or?
Oh, it has to be definitely.
I think that would be great because the potential's there, and I mean, Dissidia had 2 great games out of 3, so.
As long as I can be Ramza, because that was like my favorite thing from the last Dissidia, was that Ramza was a playable character.
And I just really like the graphics and stuff. So yeah, Warriors game, great pick for FF. Xeno would be amazing as well. Great question.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. What was the game that you were about to bring up, John? Game or series?
Oh yeah, okay. So this is a game. I'm like I said, my list before we started is a lot of indie games. I love indie games. This might be one of my favorite indie games of all time, and it started as a mobile title. You can get it on a bunch of other consoles now. It's on Switch, it's on Wii U, it's on a bunch of other stuff, and it's a game called Squids Odyssey. Squids Odyssey. It started as just a mobile game called Squids, and then they did a sequel called Squids Wild West. And then eventually what they did is they just shoved the 2 games together and I think did a little bonus content and released Squids Odyssey. So you pretty much get the entire franchise just by getting Squids Odyssey. And it's this...
Is that tower defense?
No, it's a strategy RPG, but unlike most strategy RPGs, it is turn-based, but it's not like a grid where it's like, I'm going to move here and then I'm going to pick attack.
Yeah.
It's a physics-based RPG, strategy RPG. So you have this big, like, these open maps, and when it's your turn, you have like these little bubbles around your character and you drag their tentacles because your team is all these like little squids or octopus things, and you fling them around the board. You can definitely tell how this was a mobile game. And it's like, depending on how far you pull back the tentacles, it uses up more bubbles, but you also fling harder, and like hitting yourself into enemies, that's how you do damage. So you can kind of take the slow and steady motions, or you can just like fling yourself, but there's a risk there because you can get knocked off the edge. It's the game was made by the Game Bakers. I don't know if you guys know who they are. Most people know them. They made Fury, and I think their new game coming out, I think it's called Haven. Very, very popular games that a lot of people have liked. But Squids is the game I'll always know them from, and it's just like if you look up screenshots of it, if you look up gameplay footage,
that's what I'm looking at.
It looks like this silly, cartoony. Like, I love it. I think it's gorgeous, like gorgeous underwater environments, but also very cartoony. But it's this physics-based strategy RPG, and the thing that really sucked me in and surprised me to no end is that the story and the characters are legitimately fantastic. I cannot stress that enough, how much I love these characters. Like, there's one character you meet pretty early in the game. He's one of your like first party members. His name's Clint, and he's just this like red vampire squid with like a scar on his face, and he's got a cowboy hat, and you're like, oh man, he's the cool one. He's and he's fine. He's not really anything that special when you meet him, but like as you get to see like his backstory, especially when you get into the Squids Wild West stuff that really dives into his history, it's so good. And I found myself caring about like every single character in this game, even the ones that just kind of feel like optional gimmick side characters that you can unlock, which I love by itself. That there's just like all these like there's side party members. It's just a very, very good game, and I highly recommend it. And like I said, it's on Switch. I think it's like $10, and I swear that game goes on sale like at least like 3 or 4 times a year. I think it might even be on sale right now as of the time of recording. I'm not positive. I literally got it for $1 on Switch because they were like,
wow,
it's 90% off. Go buy it. And anytime I see it on sale, I recommend it to everybody I possibly can, because I'm waiting for the day when somebody will message me and be like, I played Squids because you recommended it and you were right, and here's some money. And like that's all I want. I want someone to play it and say that they liked it, because I legitimately love it, and I cannot stress enough. I don't want to spoil like any of it, but it's just like if you like RPGs, especially strategy RPGs, it's a little different gameplay wise, but it's really good. I highly recommend it.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because well, I had never heard of it, but looking at the screenshots, it looks. I love the art style. It looks great. Yeah, but honestly, I'm gonna be really honest. Looking at the pictures though, without hearing anything that you just mentioned, I wouldn't expect this game to have a great story. So now you got me interested.
No. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I pretty much only heard about it because, like I said, I used to play a lot of mobile games back then. So for me, this was just back when I had an iPod Touch loaded with mobile games. Yeah. It just popped up on my radar, and I was like, it's 99 cents. I'll try it. And yeah, I fell in love with it. It's such a good little RPG.
Cool.
I will say the only problem I have with the Switch version, and this is just, it's not a deal breaker or anything. The game was clear, like the physics flinging, very clearly designed for like touchscreen. So it is a little, I mean, if you've never played it, it might not be an issue, but I thought it was a little off trying to use the Switch joystick. I thought it actually worked really well on Wii U because you have the stylus and everything. But like on Switch, it still plays fine. I'm not gonna say it's broken or anything. But like it definitely feels like a game that was designed for touchscreens. But yeah, highly recommend it. If you ever see it on sale, like maybe give it a chance. Like I said, I think it's a couple bucks.
All right, cool. Well, cool pick, original pick as well. Well, since we know that you're a mobile game fan, Bao, I assume you played this one.
I did not.
Okay.
Although it does sound interesting because that's the way he describes it.
That's why I'm recommending it to everybody. It's like this, it's this gorgeous underwater art style. Yeah, just good cast of characters. I love like Winnick and Samo are some of my favorites. Samo's great. He's just a big fat sumo one. And there's also hats. I want to highlight that. There are different hats that you can get for all your little squids.
Okay, cool. I'll go with what I think is kind of an original pick as well. I don't know if you might have heard of this series, but I don't know if you played it. I recently got into Sakura Wars. Did you guys ever play this series? Whether it's the PS4 reboot that we got last year or Sakura Wars,
is that the, like,
So Long My Love?
Mech waifu simulator?
Yes, it is.
You're right. I've not played it, but I'm open to being sold on it.
I've known about the game since, well, I found out about the game during like the SNES era, and I haven't actually really played one, but I want to. It's one of those games where you always see it, you want to play it, but you just haven't like pulled the trigger on it.
Fair enough. Well, if you want to hear a fun fact about this series, well, actually, let's talk about this series first, and then I'll tell you about the fun fact that I heard this week about for the first time, actually. Now, I played the Wii game, which is Sakura Wars So Long My Love, which is great, and I also played the reboot for the series that came out on PS4 last year. It's a great series. Very weird to describe, though. It is an action-based combat system with tons of visual novel sequences, and it's considered a dating sim as well. But I don't know if Yeah, well, they officially say that it's dating sim, so yeah, obviously it is, but it's kind of like Persona in that regards when it comes to the social links and confidence. It's not there's not more romance options than in Persona, I'd say. They just go more in depth with them. But it's great. I really love the characters in both games. It's a long-running series and it's a massive success in Japan. The visuals are always great. The combat was very fun as well in both games. The music's fantastic. The art for the last game, oh boy, I'm drawing a blank, but the art for the last game was done by a famous, oh yeah, I forgot the name, but you guys will probably have it for me. The art for the last game, the PS4 game, is done by the artist who made Bleach.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's one of the reasons why some people looked at it. But yeah, the art style is amazing. Honestly, I really recommend that series. And my fun fact that I wanted to bring up is that the first Sakura Wars game that came out on Sega Saturn, sorry, is actually one of the, I think it was the third game with the biggest budget for Sega at the time, which is interesting.
Not surprised actually,
because
it's pretty huge in Japan.
Exactly, very huge in Japan, but we only got 2 games here. So when I learned about that this week, I was very surprised. I reviewed the PS4 game this week, and it's one of the viewer of the video who let me know about that. And when he told me, I was like, really? And I looked it up, and yeah. So, very interesting. Highly recommend this series. I had a ton of fun with it. I think it's just a series that I think the games are very relaxing. Like, you just lay down, you play the games, and it's just pure fun. You don't really have to think about it too much when you play. And I like those type of games sometimes, so I honestly really liked it. Not necessarily the type of game that I would go like and research about the lore and stuff of the characters, unlike a series like Megami Tensei, for example, but still a ton of fun. I liked them. Well, that was my original pick that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. So that was actually one I saw like commercials or ads or whatever for the PS4 one last year, and I actually was considering it. I'm not super big on like very over the top fan servicey games, and like you've played it, so maybe you can prove or disprove this for me. Because that's really like the ads I saw. That's what they made it look like. Was they were just like, hey, here's some sexy anime waifus, have fun, and that's generally not my idea of fun. So like is the game kind of good outside of, like, if it has that, great, but I was like, is that like the primary thing? Because you mentioned it was like action RPG. I didn't even know that. I just thought there were like mechs and they occasionally did things. I didn't even know if it was something you controlled. But...
Well, with what you just mentioned to me, I'd say you should probably go back and play Sakura Wars So Long My Love, the one on PS2 and Wii, if you don't mind going back and playing older games, because this one's more in depth with the combat and the superficial elements that they put the emphasis on with the PS4 release. They're not as, I don't want to say not as bad, because I know some people liked them, but they're not. It's not as superficial with the waifu thing than the reboot. The reboot, yes, there's kind of an emphasis on it. Still not a deal breaker for me necessarily. I don't know if it would be for you with what you just mentioned though. But yeah, I'd recommend the Wii and PS2 one before. I think there would be the combat's just more in depth, because for the PS4 one, it's an action combat system with mechs, but it's not in depth enough. Like there's literally no progression system, or it's not in depth at all, I'd say. So yeah, that's kind of one thing. I think they have a very good base with the PS4 reboot. I just hope that they won't give up on Sakura Wars in the West first, because it flopped. Because they have a very good base. I just hope that they expand on it, and that they expand the audience for Sakura Wars, because I love the series. It's great.
Okay.
Anything else? Anyone else wants to go with another pick?
Yeah. But Bao, what's your obscure pick that you want to try to convince us to love?
Well, I was gonna go with something else, but we're talking about obscure picks. I have some things we could talk about.
Let's hear 'em.
Let's go with Super Robot Wars, a series I imagine many of you have never heard of. It might be shocked when I tell you it's one of the longest running game series in history.
You know what? I will tell you that you are wrong. I heard of it, but only because I follow you on Twitter. Other than that, I've never heard of it. So. But I'm curious about it though. I saw your post, and yeah, it's a long running series. Who made the game? Who made the games?
This is from Banpresto, who is now a subsidiary of Bandai Namco. So the series is actually celebrating its 30-year anniversary this year. So yeah, it's been around for a while. What Super Robot Wars is essentially a turn-based strategy RPG in the vein of Final Fantasy Tactics or Fire Emblem. But the cool thing about it is it's a giant crossover between mecha anime and sometimes mecha games. But let me give you an example. So in one game you might find Gundam Wing, G Gundam, Evangelion, Code Geass, Gurren Lagann, all mixed into one. But the cool thing about it is that unlike other crossover games and their throwaway plots, Super Robot Wars, they have a division that has to watch all of these series and think of a cohesive way to put it all together so that it works, and that you basically follow all these shows from beginning to end, essentially if they were all already together in the same world. That might sound crazy, but trust me, it works. So like, you might go from episode 1 of Evangelion to the entire movie Evangelion, all while at the same time the events of, let's say, I don't know, Code Geass is happening on the side. And it's just really, really cool in a series that many in the West have never even heard of, despite the fact they're always top sellers in Japan. And if you're wondering why you haven't heard of it, it's because in Japan, all these series, or most of them, are owned by one or two companies. But if you were to bring them over here, more companies own these series, and they would be more costly. And then, of course, mecha games just don't sell that well in the West to begin with, looking at 13 Sentinels.
Oh boy.
So
let's not get into that one.
But in recent years, they have been giving these games Asian localizations. So you still have to import it from Asia, but it will be in English, which is really cool.
Definitely. Do you have one game? Well, first of all, is it like a series where you have to play everything to understand what's going on, or is there a possibility to play like one game and see if you like it?
So most of these games are standalone, but there have been times when they've made sub-series, but they're always easy to identify because it'll be like SRWZ, Z2, Z3, etc. Like, you'll know if it's a sequel.
Okay.
But if you want to play this series, I highly suggest you do. Either look up Super Robot Wars V, Super Robot Wars X, or Super Robot Wars T, all three of which are on the PS4 and the Switch. And if you buy it on the PS4, there's custom BGM, so you can put your own songs in the game.
Nice. Well, that was a game that I knew you'd bring up. But
actually,
very interesting thing.
To for the fact that it was obscure, but since we were talking about
definitely, no problem. We can bring up anything. I didn't list that many obscure ones. I have one, but we'll let John go before. Just a sec, if you guys will allow me. We have Demi Crow once again, dude. $2 donation. Thank you so much, dude. I really do appreciate it. Oh, that's a very interesting question. What's the worst game you've ever played? He says mine is Isbalan. What's that? Isbalan.
I've heard of that, but I'm not sure like what exactly it is. As for me, I really gotta think about that. There's a ton of really disappointing games I played, but like straight up worse, I'm not sure.
I try not to dwell on like something I actually hate. Like I could go into a game that I consider very, very disappointing. Like, what is a game that actually comes to mind when I think of like a game I don't like? But I know I've played like way worse games. Like the game that kind of comes to mind to me, to go back to what we were talking about a little bit ago, is probably Paper Mario Sticker Star. And I know that like as far as quality and actual gameplay goes, that game is not terrible. But for me, that was one of the main games I bought, and it was just like, I regret spending this money buying it on launch. Like, that is just one of the main games I think of that I was like, yeah, I really wish I did not buy this. I know I've played worse, but that's Sticker Star is one that always comes to mind for me.
Is that the 3DS one or?
That's the 3DS one, yeah.
Okay. Oh,
I know many will disagree with me, but I think honestly, when I think about it, I gotta go with Final Fantasy 15.
ooh.
Like honestly.
Okay, whoa.
Like-
Give me 1 second. I think the reason why you mentioned that one, even before we hear your argument, is because you were looking up to the game and you were expecting good things from it, and you were disappointed, right?
Not as much as you might think.
Okay.
Actually, leading up to the game, I had no expectations for it, just because of the long development cycle and also because of the changes it went through. But reviewers, they were saying, "Oh, this is a 10 out of 10 game.
Right.
It's really great. It was worth the wait." So I say, you know what? I'll give it a try, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I do generally think it's not a good game. Like, genuinely.
Okay. I can see it. FF15, it's interesting every single time that someone brings it up to me, because I liked it, but I wasn't part of the hype train before it released. And I played it once it was completely fixed. So it wasn't buggy or anything when I played it, and I just kind of liked it. The combat is definitely average. I think the story is good old Nomura. It's really hard to follow at times. Not that great in my opinion. But I think there's still fun to be had. Far from a 10 out of 10 though. Far from it, definitely. The game that Demicro was talking about, Balan Wonderworld, not is Balan in Wonderworld. It's Balan Wonderworld. You know the supposed spiritual successor to Knights that's coming out in March?
Yeah, I played the demo for that.
I heard it's pretty bad, but I didn't play it myself.
Yeah, I haven't touched the demo either.
So I can talk about that for a little bit. So I am someone who was actually very, very hyped for that game when it came out. And look, to be fair, it's something you'll hear a lot from people, and I'm going to say it now, is yes, it is just a demo. And I understand that things can get better from demo status. Like that was the whole thing with like Octopath Traveler and that new one they announced. They were like, we have a demo and we're also like taking feedback and we're actually gonna like fix things. But yeah, like, because to me, Balan Wonderworld, it's like the world and the story and what they're kind of doing, it does seem like there is some potential in there. Like I played it on handheld Switch mode, which is, I don't want to say graphically bad, but obviously not going to look nearly as good as other consoles. And I still thought like the cutscenes they were showing looked really good. I thought the boss fight was fun. The main problem I had with it is, to me, the main thing that makes a 3D platformer great is movement. Movement, like, even if you're not doing anything, just the act of running around and jumping and using your powers or whatever, even if you're not using them on anything, should be fun. And that's something I do think Balan was a little lacking in. I'm still open to the main game being good when it comes out. I'm not going to try and judge this worst game ever based on the demo. I will confess, though, yes, the demo made me question if I do want to get this at launch or not.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, and I know I'm part of the problem by saying this. I probably am going to buy it at launch, even if it ends up not being that good, because like, just when you read like interviews and stuff, like I just feel kind of bad for Yuji Naka. He just wants to make like a 3D platformer, and he was like he's like, I had this great idea and like Square finally let me do it, and this might be my only chance. And I'm like, well, now I feel bad if I don't buy it.
The budget allocated to this project was probably not that high though. Looking at it, it doesn't. It's weird because the first reveal looked interesting, but when you see gameplay, it looks really. For me personally, I completely fell off of platformers actually. Now that I think about it, because I can't remember the last time that I bought a platformer, whether it's 2D or 3D, like day one. It's been a long time. It's not my genre, to be honest.
I still really like 3D platformers, but the funny thing is, like, and maybe this is just me being the contrarian hipster that the internet knows me as, like, I don't play the major stuff. I don't play, like, I didn't buy Mario Odyssey. I didn't care. But like I've played a lot of like smaller, kind of more indie 3D platformers, and absolutely loved them. Like I played new Super Lucky's Tale is actually way more fun than I thought it would be. And the one that just came out that I'm really liking is called Blue Fire. And that game is, I know it's kind of a meme to say this, that game is essentially the Dark Souls of 3D platformers. And I don't mean that in the sense that like, oh man, it's hard. I mean like when you play this game and just look at it, like very obviously from the world and the storytelling and the lore, like you're still playing as this adorable little 3D mascot character, but they very clearly took some inspiration from Dark Souls. But it is like the platforming stuff is fun and combat is not great, but like the movement and everything of it, and that's what I like about 3D platformers is just that sense of movement, and I think this game is also capturing that really well.
Nice.
That's kind of that's what I was playing until Strikers came out, and then I've been just playing that.
Okay, very recent. My worst. It's hard because just as you mentioned, we don't really think too hard about the games that we really hate. I tend to think about the games that I love more. But I remember being very disappointed for Duke Nukem on PS3 because that was one game that looked promising, but when it released, I was like, oof, that's average at best. Very broken.
I almost bought that game just to never open it, like just for posterity, because like for the longest time that was the is this game ever gonna come out game.
Yep, that's right. It was delayed so many times.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of those games now are out because it was like Duke Nukem Forever, Last Guardian, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Oof, yeah, that's right. Kingdom Hearts 3 took so long.
Yeah, now it's like I think like Half-Life 3 and Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Bayonetta 3.
Even Bayonetta 3 though, like I don't really think that one's actually been like I don't remember when it was announced, but I feel like I haven't really been waiting that long for that one.
It wasn't that long. It wasn't that long. Like SMT5 was announced in January 2017, and Bayo 3 was announced at the Game Awards of the same year, which was holiday, so probably like November or something.
Okay, so about the same time, I guess. But yeah, like I mean, still can't hold a candle to like because was it Duke Nukem was 11, 12 years. I think that game was announced in like 2000, 2001.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like that's a game that spanned multiple console generations.
Oh yeah.
In its development. Same with Last Guardian. That was supposed to be a PS3 game.
Oh boy.
That's one of the games I bought my PS3 for. How'd that turn out?
I don't know about that. Should I go with regular normal title, or should I talk about my obscure one?
Let's kind of steer a little bit back more to mainstream.
To normal? Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
We tackled it real quick, but let's talk about Ace Attorney. That's one series that I adore and I like so much. I was 95% certain that we would get the great Ace Attorney Chronicles last week at the Direct, but we didn't, which disappointed me. Maybe we'll get it tomorrow, though.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like since it wasn't at the Direct, now I'm just kind of like, well, now. Oh yeah, because tomorrow's the state of
Sony.
Oh
yeah,
God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so that would be cool. That would be really cool. I hope it happens.
I'm not gonna get my hopes up for that though, because it's like I'm looking at like thinking previous state of plays.
Oh yeah.
They really lean into kind of the not necessarily PlayStation exclusive, but more of those like major AAA titles, and I don't think PlayStation is gonna gear up to be like, hey, you know that series you're probably gonna buy on the Switch?
Yeah.
I would love it if they just shadow dropped an announcement for it, but I don't think it'll be at the state of play. But
yeah.
So real quick before we dive into Ace Attorney, I want to stress this. A couple years ago, I did a video that was like my top 10 not Megami Tensei game franchises, and my number 1 on that list was Ace Attorney.
Nice.
And I want to be very clear. Ace Attorney, like, based on the title of that video, you would think, okay, Mega 10 is my favorite franchise. No, Ace Attorney is my favorite video game franchise. I love
Really?
the Ace Attorney series. It
Wow.
is my absolute favorite game series of all time. For like the longest time, Phoenix Wright was my favorite video game character. I think Kazuma Kiryu has kind of upped him a little bit, like barely, but yeah, I love Ace Attorney with all of my heart. So I can geek out about the series forever. So I'm counting on both of you to occasionally interrupt me or be like, "Hey, John, dial it back." I love this series, absolutely.
Fantastic series. Before we head in, Bao, did you ever play any Ace Attorney game?
I actually love the original trilogy.
Yes.
Years and years and years ago, I did like a top DS game video, and Ace Attorney was #1.
Nice.
It's one of those games where I had never really played anything like it, and I was just an instant fan. I love the characters, the music. Unfortunately, I've never really gone to play any other game though, like the Apollo Justice ones, or like Dual Destinies or anything like that. I want to someday.
Yeah, I'm hoping, like, you know, they've got the trilogy on the Switch. By the way, if anyone out there wants the trilogy physically, if you import the Japanese version, it comes with the complete English translation.
That's the one that I have.
Yeah, I bought that from a game shop when I was living in Beijing. I bought the physical Japanese one.
Cool.
And the clerk, you know, he spoke a little bit of English, and he was trying to like talk me out of it. He's like, no, it's in Japanese, and I like pointed to the screenshot of the English screenshot they had on the back. I'm like, no, there's an English version. He's like, oh, that's cool. I really hope they eventually do a second trilogy. It's like I know the Great Ace Attorney duology is on the table. I would love if they did the second trilogy of like Apollo Justice, Dual Destinies, and Spirit of Justice. Like get those three on the Switch as well would be.
They should, but I'm happy that they're gonna start with the Great Ace Attorney though, because we never got those games, so that's new games for us. And I know that when it comes out, my girlfriend is not a gamer, far from it. But at the beginning of the pandemic last year, she had nothing to do. So I gave her my Switch and the Ace Attorney trilogy, and she adored them. So we are planning on playing the Great Ace Attorney together once it comes out. And that's awesome because we never play any game together. The last game that I was able to play with her was Life is Strange on PS4. That's the type of game that she likes because she's not even able to control a character and the camera at the same time. So you know what I'm saying. But Ace Attorney, she likes it. So it's great. It's great. I'm really excited for new games. But for us, it's new games because we never got them. But I just love this series. The music is fantastic. The character design is fantastic. The stories, like in the original trilogy, let's be honest, the original trilogies are the best games, right? We can all agree on that. Yeah, we can.
For the most part, I feel like Trials and Tribulations is doing a lot of the heavy lifting there.
Yeah, because it's probably in a trilogy of games that are like direct sequels to one another. It's probably the best way to close a trilogy that I've ever seen in video games. It's amazing. It wraps up all the little things that you had in mind since the first game. It clears up everything at the third game. It's fantastic. It's a masterpiece. Yeah. I'm a big fan. Honestly, I'm a really big fan. I remember playing the games for the first time and I was like, wow, they're really gonna close every little crack, every small crack in a door that was left in my mind. They closed everything. I had my answers for everything. That's awesome. And when you go back and play the other ones, Apollo Justice, even smaller games like Professor Layton and Phoenix Wright, they're great. They're all great.
I was gonna ask about that one, the Professor Layton crossover.
It's
what y'all thought of it. It was okay.
It was okay. It is a 7 out of 10, but it's alright. I like both characters and I like to see them together. I thought the story was alright. The music's great. Oh yeah,
the music was fantastic.
And I like the gameplay. I think that was a great combination of both. I think it's the story that's a bit lacking for this one.
I had some issues with the ending because it's. I'm not going to spoil it, but I will say it's a very Professor Layton ending.
Yeah.
And when you a Professor Layton style ending in Ace Attorney style gameplay is not, in my opinion, the best combination. It really started to drag after a while. To give one very high thing of praise to Ace Attorney versus Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright. The first witch trial, like the first witch trial you do, one of my favorite cases ever, because it was so fantastic to have this, like, to have Ace Attorney style gameplay where you have to use the evidence and the information and the logic on hand to solve a case that does not play by the rules of our world. I loved that, where it was like...
Great concept.
It's like, yeah, it was like she murdered this guy with magic, and it's like, well, how do you prove she didn't do that? And then Phoenix is at... Because Phoenix, like, there's even one moment where he's like, we'll check it for fingerprints. And everyone's just
They're like, what the hell is that?
What the hell are fingerprints? Like, what are you talking about? I loved that first case, like, where it's like you have to use the rules of this world to prove. Like, I'm very surprised no one's made like a game that's just that. Where's the Mega 10 Ace Attorney crossover where like demons murder each other and you have to prove like why Jack Frost didn't freeze this guy to death? Like,
I remember now that you brought up the first case. Playing through it at the I don't remember if it was after the first case or after the second case, but you know when you start to get a good idea of how the story is going to play out, I was like, oh boy, I thought it was kind of a missed opportunity because I felt like there was a ton of potential, but it drags on. The game's too long for what it is.
Yeah.
But hey, still worth playing in my opinion. If you're a fan of the Ace Attorney series, you'll like it, but it's not one of the better ones.
Yeah. To give another little bit of glimmer. So, as fans of the series, I don't think this is a hot take in saying this. I think we can all agree that as far as the main series is concerned, like the main six, so not Professor Layton, not Investigations, not Grey Ace Attorney, just the main six. Can we all agree that Apollo Justice is the, I don't want to say worst, but like the weakest? Like, is that a fair take, do you all think?
Which one? I'm sorry.
Apollo Justice.
Apollo Justice? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. But in its defense, it's a standalone game in its defense.
Well, yeah,
so...
I was going to say, like not an insult to Apollo himself. Like, some people are just like, oh, I hate it because it's not Phoenix.
I thought it was a great character.
Apollo's a perfectly fine character. And I think Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, specifically, did amazing things with Apollo. Like, oh my god. But... one thing that I will give full defense for Apollo Justice, and maybe y'all will disagree, I think Apollo Justice has the best first case out of any of the games. Like Trials and Tribulations, where you play as Mia, that comes really close. But I think the first case in Apollo Justice is, like, when you're just doing the tutorial cases...
Can you remind me of what it was exactly? I'm sorry to cut you.
Yeah, oh, you're fine. That's the one where Phoenix is the defendant, and he was accused of, like, murdering the guy with the grape juice bottle in the, like...
Yes, while playing cards. Yeah, I remember. Okay.
And, like, that was such a good
Yes, it
case.
was. It was.
Like, because like, if you play the first case of the first game is, you literally see the guy do it, and he's like, I'll frame that guy. And then it's like 3 cross-examinations, and then it's like, oh, I did do it. It's just like, the first case of the first game is like laughably short and easy. And I think they got way better as time went on with their tutorials. But yeah, it's such a good series.
Absolutely.
They did say they were gonna do Ace Attorney 7 on the Switch. I'm still waiting on that one. It's one of those things they were just like, yeah, we're doing it, and I'm like, can we get any information, please?
Yeah. Before we close out with Ace Attorney, I just want to say, why isn't Phoenix Wright in Smash already? He's on my every single time that they confirm that there's an announcement, he's always on my thumbnails. I'm like, hell yeah, Phoenix Wright, now's the time. Him and Kiryu. I really want Phoenix Wright in, and he's in fighting games, so don't give me that argument. He's in fighting games already, and he works, so he can be in Smash as well. He deserves his place. Kiryu, same thing. Oh yeah, I really want Kiryu with Majima Echo Fighter because I simp Majima, to be honest. He's amazing.
Well, if we ever got Kiryu, Majima would probably be like the Mii fighter.
Oh no, not Mii fighter.
I think would be equally hilarious to just
yes.
have a Mii with his jacket.
Yes, but I can't main a Mii fighter. I need at least an Echo.
I actually can. Like, not necessarily my main, but I actually play a lot with the Cuphead costume, the Cuphead Mii fighter.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one of my favorite characters to play as an ultimate.
Oh yeah, and I just think Majima is probably as legendary as Kiryu, so I think he deserves at least an Echo fighter. At least, and I think he would be really cool to play as. But yeah, I'm definitely biased because I'm such a fan. So, all right, let's move on. Anything else that we should talk about? Any other series? Any other game?
Well, since you brought up Smash, that was actually on my list.
Oh,
We can talk about that.
definitely.
Right, yeah. Smash powwow.
Smash Brothers for me, I've been playing since the N64 game, so since the beginning. And I love the series. I've always been a casual player though, so I don't count frames or anything. I'm definitely a casual Smash player, but Smash is probably my go-to game when I have like a friend coming over and we want to play couch co-op or something. That and like COD Zombies are like my go-to couch co-op games. I just love it. Smash Ultimate is probably the best crossover that we'll ever get in gaming. It's awesome.
Yeah, I'm definitely a casual Smash fan. I played like even in the N64 days, I was like, yeah, this is fun. I'll play it with friends, and I think it's one of those games where it's like, as I've played less and less with friends on the couch as I've gotten older, I've kind of played less and less Smash, to the point where like even in Ultimate, I don't even have all the characters unlocked yet. Ultimate is a game I just occasionally dive back into, and I play a few rounds, and I might unlock someone, and I'm like, yay. I really have not invested a lot of time into it, but it is still a series that I'm weirdly just like I do love following it. Like even when a Smash reveal, it's like, even if I don't care about this character, I'm like, all right, now they're in. That's fun. So it's very fun to follow Smash. Like, even if you don't dedicate a lot of time and effort to it.
Absolutely. Smash reveals are an event by themselves.
They really are.
They're amazing. I mean, Pyra and Mithra was great. Was a great announcement. But Sephiroth, whew, that was one hell of an announcement.
That was a great trailer. And my favorite kind of meme that came from that was people pointing out, they were like, unlike almost every other character, it's like, Sephiroth didn't get invited. He just
showed up. Yeah.
Like, Sephiroth didn't get an invite. He didn't get a card. He was just like, he just like saw Cloud and was like, "Is that jerk having fun?"
Oh yeah. I just like how I realized that's always the thing. How when you're watching a trailer, when is the time that you say, "Oh, it's him," or "It's her"? When do you know? Well, for Sephiroth, it's before we saw him, because we heard One Wing Angel. That was so cool. I was like, "Huh? Who's that in the sky?" And then you hear the song, the team playing.
I don't necessarily know Sephiroth, but I will say, like, because they were showing, it's like, okay, we're fighting the big ultimate boss. The fact that they had, like, I don't know why, this clicked with me. The fact that Hero was there, like, he was kind of in that trailer. Like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, I think it's another Square character. Like I saw, because they had Cloud and Hero.
Okay.
And I was like, it's gonna be Square. Like, as much as I am one of those people who actually did want Geno, I wasn't thinking it was going to be Geno.
In the sky slashing the... Yeah, doesn't fit him as well. But I had no idea before we heard the team. Before we heard One Winged Angel, I had no idea. I was like, who the hell is this in the sky?
Yeah, as soon as I saw the boss, Gilliam or whatever his name is, getting cut, I was like, okay, this has to be a villain, and it has to be someone really badass.
Yeah.
That was actually the main thing that got me hyped for Sephiroth, was just, I love seeing more villain representation in Smash.
Absolutely.
And
Sephiroth, Sephiroth is easily top 10 villains of all time in video games, so he deserves a spot.
At this point, I just really want, like, Eggman at this point, just to round that out, because like Eggman is, I think, another just iconic game boss, and I think would be fun to play as.
Oh yeah, I'd like to see him with his mech in Sonic Adventure 2. That would be cool.
Oh yeah.
You know how they turn around like it's like crazy? I remember there's one level where you're on some type of platform and it lowers down, but enemies are popping up surrounding you. I used to just 360 and shoot everywhere in that level. That was great. I loved Sonic Adventure 2. That was a good one.
Yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 was fun. The game that introduced me to Rouge the Bat and changed my life forever.
Love all the
for better or worse.
Yeah. You know how the levels where you gotta pick up the emeralds? Yeah. Those levels when I was younger, I liked them. But I played Sonic Adventure 2 in 2020 and I dropped it while playing because of those levels. I was like, bruh, that's completely trash. I'm not having any fun.
I think the only thing I hate about them going back to them, and to be fair, I haven't played the game in years, so maybe I'm mistaken, is the thing that bothered me was like, it does the like, okay, you're getting warmer, but it goes in order. It's not like you can just find any of the 3 crystals. Right. So it's like so you could completely bypass where one actually is, but it's not going to tell you it's there until you find the one it wants you to find, and I think that's stupid.
I think it told you if you were like right on top of it, like the exclamation mark would appear, but other than that, you're on your own.
Right,
yeah.
It wouldn't do the like blinking thing.
Right.
Exactly. And the little sound that it makes, I remember when I was younger, that happens rarely to me. Like when I was younger, when I like something from a game and replaying it, I don't like it anymore. That rarely happens, but it definitely happened with Sonic Adventure 2, and I was like, oh, that sucks because I have great memories playing it. I'm definitely not a Sonic fan, to be honest. I don't know if you guys are, but Sonic Adventure 2 is probably the only one that I enjoyed.
Sonic 2 itself was my first video game.
Oh.
And I used to be a big fan as a kid, all the way up to Sonic Adventure 2 Bao and Sonic Heroes. But after that, I kind of fell off, and I kind of don't care for Sonic anymore.
Yeah, I'm not a particularly huge Sonic fan. Like, you know, it does some neat stuff, and every now and then I'm like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, it's not really a series I actively follow.
Yeah. Oh, I liked Sonic Riders on the GameCube as well. I thought that was fun.
Never got to play that one.
Yeah, great couch co-op game with great music. Sonic music is interesting. I don't know if it's good, but it's cringe good. Like, it's when you go back and listen to Sonic Adventure 2 soundtrack, if you listen to the lyrics, you're like, oh yeah, that's cringe, but it still sounds kind of good while playing. Great team. Sonic Heroes, yeah, Christian just mentioned it. Sonic Heroes was great. On the GameCube, I liked it as well. So no, there's more than one Sonic game that I like. I just as you guys mentioned, I don't follow Sonic close by or anything. I'm a big Sega fan, but Sonic, not that much. Which feels crazy to say, but hey. John, any pick?
Yeah. So I this is probably one of my favorite like bigger series. And it's such a cliche, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up. Let's Pokemon. Are you guys Pokemon fans?
I had it on my list because I have something interesting to say about that one. But
for the longest, Pokemon was my favorite series of all time. Now it's fell off a tiny bit, but I still love it.
Okay. When did you fell off? Like, when did you say you started to get like not as invested as before?
All the way actually up until after Gen 7 for me. Recently.
Okay.
Super recently, basically.
Okay. John? If you fell off. If you fell off, because not everyone did.
So I haven't, but there have been moments where I feel like I came a little close. The first one for me was actually Gen 4. I know a lot of people really like Gen 4. I didn't, and it came out like right after I graduated from high school. So I was kind of like, that's when I started to question. I was like, am I just too old for Pokemon? Do I just not like Pokemon anymore? And then Gen 5 came out, and it was one of my favorites. So I was like, nope, that wasn't the problem. And then I actually didn't really like 6 that much, and then 7 was conflicting for me. But I'm actually one of the weirdos who I genuinely loved Gen 8. I loved Shield. Like, I was super addicted to it.
Interesting. Interesting that you mentioned what you said about 4, because for me personally, I dropped after 4. I really liked 4 though. I adored 4. I thought the music was great. I thought the gameplay was great. Loved the new Pokemons. They brought in some of the best Pokemons of all time, in my opinion. Like, I really liked some of the new ones, Darkrai. Loved the events that they had for Gen 4 as well. Honestly, really liked it. And then they gave us Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which I also really like. Platinum. But then it started to drop for me. Like, I even until this day, I bought all the games. I bought... Oh, that's not right. I didn't buy Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But I bought Gen 5, Black and White 2 as well. I bought X and Y. I bought Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I bought Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon. I bought all of them. But I really stopped liking them as much as I did after Gen 4.
Yeah.
I know that's controversial, Zach, in the chat, by the way. I know it is, but hey.
Yeah, funny you mentioned Heart Gold, Soul Silver. So it's like, those are like, I still have those games, and I do like them. I do like them a lot, and I know some people that say like those are the best Pokemon games. To me, it's very interesting because it's like, I acknowledge how good they are, but I will, like, maybe it's just nostalgia. I will always, when I want Gen 2, I will always just go back to Crystal. Like, Crystal is probably my favorite Pokemon game. It wasn't my first or anything. It's just my favorite to go back to.
Gen 2 is amazing.
Gen 2 was good. I like Gen 2.
Crazy how you can go back and revisit Kanto. When I was younger, I couldn't believe it. I remember playing Gold. That's the game that I owned when I was younger. And just completing it. And I was like, wow, that was great. But then you go back and Kanto's here. And you beat all the gyms again. And that was... Wow, that blew my mind when I was younger. Honestly, I couldn't believe it.
I wish they'd had a little bit more to do in Kanto. I get why they didn't. I know that's a big ask for the game. Like the game was already good up to that point, but it was like, I feel like they could have done a little bit more.
Definitely
in the region.
That was still an amazing thing, though.
Finding Kanto is still one of my favorite gaming memories, because back then, of course, the internet wasn't really around like it is today. So I literally stumbled across it on accident, and I was just ecstatic to discover that the journey wasn't over. I have like 8 gyms to go through.
That's one of my friends told me that Kanto was in Gen 2 games. That's why I started to beg my parents to get it. So, amazing.
Yeah, like Bao, it's funny you mentioned that, because like I specifically remember playing Gold, and like when you get Surf, you're like, wait a minute, what's the starting town? Not Little Root. Maybe it was. Whatever the starting town in Gen 2 was.
I don't remember.
And you surf that water, and you go through that little cave, and you come out of the cave, and that guy just runs over to you and is like, congratulations, you just took your first step into the Kanto region. And I was like, I did? Like, that just blew my freaking mind when I was... how old was I? I was like 10 or 11, I think, when those games came out. That was fantastic. Like, yeah, like, that is a very just clear memory for me.
Nice. Kind of want to talk about one game now that we talked about Pokemon. Kind of want to talk about Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness on GameCube. Did you guys play that one, or Coliseum?
I played both.
I played Coliseum probably 7 or 8 times.
Okay.
Gale of Darkness about 4 times. I'm actually planning on playing the mod of Gale of Darkness on Twitch sometime this year.
Nice. I never played Coliseum, and that kind of hurts me because I adored XD. Like, I really liked it. I thought the story was amazing. Some of the best story in Pokemon, in my opinion. Love the Shadow Pokemon opinion. Really loved the... oh boy, what's the name of the villains? The team. Oof, I don't remember, but I...
Team Snag'em.
Yeah, that might be it. I'm not sure.
Well, because Team Snag'em in Coliseum was like... you were a member of Team Snag'em, and then you like defect, and then there's like another evil team that's not them, and I think they were like...
I'm not sure that's the name.
Cypher or something? Yeah, I didn't care about that, but it was like...
I'll check it up just to...
But that's the one thing Coliseum had over XD. Coliseum had atmosphere. Like, you weren't some 10-year-old kid going on a happy-go-lucky adventure. You were literally like... The game opens with you blowing up your former base and escaping.
And stealing the Snag'em, yeah.
Right, across a desert. with these two evolutions and not some baby starter. It was really cool for a Pokemon game at the time. Like, we had never seen anything like that.
And then I feel like all the that was a great setup to the character, but then I felt like the game never really did anything interesting with it after that point.
Yeah, they really could have too, which is a shame.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, on the subject of Pokemon Coliseum XD, just gotta mention this because by law you have to. Mirror B's
Oh,
theme
I was about to say that.
is one of the best
Hey.
tracks in all video games.
I remember it. I can say it right now. I remember it so well. Such a great, yeah. Doon, 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 doon.
Oh, it's so good.
I remember him like walking on the battlefield and his little dance when I was younger. I was like, I'll beat your ass, fool.
Someone pointed this out to me, and I have no idea if it was intentional. I don't believe it was, but I don't care. Someone pointed out that his Ludicolo move in beat.
I'll play the team on this podcast in the background.
If you ever go, if you play the game again, or you go just watch footage of the fight, watch his Ludicolo. They move in beat to the song, and it's so good. I guess I don't think it's intentional. I think that's just how their animation went, but it was just such a nice little touch that someone pointed out to me.
The team's
He was
playing
also
right now.
memorable for me because he was actually kind of challenging too, which is rare for a Pokemon.
Yeah, he
game.
was. Well, the games in general, I think, are kind of challenging for Pokemon. At least XD was to me when I was younger.
Someone taught me a glitch in Coliseum. They fixed it in XD, but there's a fun glitch in Coliseum that's basically infinite Pokeballs. And it's like, because all the battles in that game are double battles. And it's like, if you use a Pokeball, you have to have two different types of Pokeball in your inventory. And it's like, you use a Pokeball on your first turn, and then on the second turn, go into your items and switch swap the locations of the two items in your list, and then just do a normal attack. And it's just infinite Pokeballs. Your Pokeballs never run out.
I
and then
never knew that.
Yeah, and then when you get the Master Ball, it's just great because you just.
You know something else I just remembered? Pokemon Coliseum was actually the first game I ever followed prior to release. I kept up to date with news on it on the internet and stuff. So that's another cool memory I have with the game.
I don't know what the first one for me is. I know with Crystal, I used to, before it came out, I called the Nintendo hotline, and they'd be like, "Are you ready for Pokemon Crystal? It's the first Pokemon game where you can play as a male or female protagonist." And I was like, "That's so cool."
That was really cool at the time.
Yeah, and I love Chris. Chris is still one of my favorite protagonist designs.
Great design, yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
with her little twin tails. She's fun.
I'll say, what is your least favorite generation, though?
For me, probably 6. 6 is such a.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's a small Pokédex, and I just don't remember the. I really don't remember the region that well. I'm actually struggling to remember really any of the gym leaders. I think there's the Bug Girl who's a photographer. I will say this though, in credit of Gen 6, Gen 6 gave us Halucha, who is one of my favorite Pokemon ever. I love Halucha.
Since time has passed, I've come to realize that at the time, I think I mainly loved Gen 6 and held in such high regard because it was a shift to 3D. But going back to the game, now that I'm used to 3D Pokemon, is not that great to me. I can still like it. There's no Pokemon generation I actively dislike.
Oh yeah, I don't hate Gen 6, but
right, it's probably my second least favorite behind Gen 3.
I mean, to me, the one that I liked, again, I'll agree with what you guys mentioned. I don't hate any of the games, but definitely the Sword and Shield is the games that I finished all the games, but Sword and Shield, I dropped it while playing. I don't remember where exactly, but I dropped it while playing. And yeah, that doesn't happen too often to me.
One that I want to highlight as kind of a mixed bag sore spot for me is definitely Gen 7, because I want to be clear, Gen 7 did so many things that I loved. Okay, so for starters, I grew up in Hawaii. So just the Alola region is so nostalgic for me. It really feels like home. I love the region. I love Alola as a region. I like a lot of the Pokemon they introduced. There's so many that I thought were really cool and really fun. I loved Team Skull and like what's his name, Guzman. Like, he's so fun. And then like, and Gen 7 gave us regional variants, which is one of my favorite things Pokemon has ever added. I get so hyped for regional Pokemon now.
I love
these. It's like, because I didn't really like Mega Evolutions. They never really clicked with me. It just felt very gimmicky to me. And then Gen 7 was like, it's a Vulpix, but it's an Ice Vulpix. And I'm like, I will die for Ice Vulpix. And they've done some great ones since then that I just really love. And I was even kind of saying something I hope they do that I think would be really fun is if they ever do remake Diamond and Pearl. I know that's the game. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are thinking we might get this year is Diamond and Pearl remakes.
I think we'll get the announcement of those this week, actually.
Possibly, yeah. Oh, that's right, yeah, because the big anniversary thing's coming up.
It is Pokemon Week this week, so I was expecting an announcement today, actually, of a direct. But now I don't think we'll get a direct. I think we will probably just get an announcement, video announcement, probably.
But I hope if they do make the Diamond and Pearl remakes, I hope they'll take like Gen 5, 6, and 7 Pokemon, like Pokemon that didn't exist before Gen 4, and give us like Sinnohian versions of them. I think that would be really cool to kind of go backwards and take like newer Pokemon and be like, oh, here's how they are in this older region.
There's no real reason not to either, since like regional variants of animals exist in real life, so there's no reason that newer Pokemon should be off limits.
Yeah,
so I would like to see that as well.
Yeah, I do hate that there's no regional Cubone. That kind of like no regional Cubone and no regional Coughing. Those two both kind of bothered me a little bit. But yeah, Gen 7. It's just the actual games. I remember not liking them that much, and it felt like more so than almost any other Pokemon game. People just stop you from doing anything, and it's like. It was never like, oh, this tree fell over, or like, oh, we're doing construction. There's like this one guy who was just like, yeah, hi, I'm on my Stoutland, and my Stoutland is looking for items, and can you come back when he's done? Thanks. I'm just like, you are just a jerk. Like, there's no like official reason I can't cross. You're just being inconsiderate. Like, and it felt like Gen 7 was like that with almost every single location in the game. But I loved Alola and I loved the Pokemon and I loved a lot of things it introduced. I just remember not liking the games themselves that much, which is very disappointing. Also, on the subject of, real quick, on the subject of Pokemon and games getting randomly announced, new Pokemon Snap in like 2 months. Oh my god! It's
actually my most anticipated game of the year besides SMT5. So I adore the original. Same.
I've been waiting 20 years for this game to exist, and it.
Same.
Oh my god! I'm so excited. It's really funny to me because it's like between that one and then this last direct announced Legend of Mana Remastered, which Legend of Mana, for those of you that don't know, is my favorite video game of all time. So it's like, between those two games, it's like, things that I didn't know I wanted from 20 years ago. It's like, all I need now is for them to, like, actually announce that they're localizing that Monster Rancher 2 port on the Switch, which already exists, it's just not localized. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm just, everything I love from, like, PlayStation N64 era is coming back.
N64 for me, and that's maybe a hot take once again, I can play all the games that I like on N64 elsewhere. So I don't care for the N64. I don't own an N64 anymore. I can play all the games that I like on it elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the great ones are on the Wii U now. I still have it for like a couple of things that I think didn't get ported, but they still might one day. So we'll see.
And I've always been an RPG dude, and there's nothing RPG wise on it, so.
What? Quest 64 is too good for.
Okay, so now let's change the subject.
I can't even say that.
Nah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Not gonna lie.
It's not great.
I think it was a cool subject to talk about Pokemon a bit. So I also have one popular Nintendo series that I wanted to talk about with Zelda, The Legend of Zelda. I've been a big fan of this series for the longest time, still am to this day, unlike Pokemon. So I want to hear you guys. What's your story with Zelda? Are you fans? Do you like the games?
I'm sort of in an interesting spot with Zelda because Wind Waker is the closest thing to a perfect game I've ever played. Like, I will praise that game to the high moon. But when it comes to the Zelda series, I'm actually not that high on. Like, there's certain games here and there I like, but the rest is just kind of there for me. And I'm like one of the only 5 people on the planet that didn't like Breath of the Wild as well. So yeah.
I can see it for real. Interesting. It was my most anticipated game for the longest time when it came out. Like that and SMT5. I've never been that excited for a game, honestly. So I was excited, but I understand why some people wouldn't like it. It's not a perfect game. That's something that I hear too often. It's not perfect. It's great. It did some amazing things, but it's not perfect.
So I'm preparing to hand over my gamer card as I say this. Zelda's a very interesting series for me because it's like I do like it. Like whenever I'm given a Zelda game, I do usually have fun. I haven't really bought a new one in a really long time. I think the last new one I played was Link Between Worlds, which I actually really liked.
Great game.
But the thing with Zelda though is I have never beaten a Zelda game. I've played a lot of them. I've never actually finished one. The closest I've ever come were these are arguably my top 3. So it goes to show my top 3 are the ones that I almost finished, which are Link Between Worlds, Wind Waker, and Minish Cap. Minish Cap is the one I think I came closest to. I was on the final dungeon, and then I moved, and the little case that had all my Game Boy Advance games in it got lost in the move. So I never finished Minish Cap. I think you can actually get it on the Wii U Virtual Console, and I've just been meaning to do that.
Minish Cap is a fantastic game. It really is.
Yeah.
It's.
I did not know it was developed by Capcom.
It was
when I first played it. I didn't know that.
Just like Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages as well.
I never actually played those ones. I heard good things about them.
I mean, that's again a hot take, but I really feel like Minish Cap's the best 2D Zelda. At least it's my favorite. I feel like before I started to openly say that, I thought it was because of nostalgia because I played Minish Cap when I was younger, but I played it recently and it really is that good. From its story to its visuals, art style, gameplay. There's a ton of very incredibly unique items in this one.
Yeah, I remember the mole gloves.
The mole gloves,
jar, the wind jar, or whatever it was called.
Music's fantastic as well.
There was some neat stuff. I don't remember any of the music. If you asked me to hum any Minish Cap song, I don't think I could. I'm sure if I played it, I'd be like, oh yeah, this music's awesome. But I can't say I remember any of it.
Mm-hmm.
Minish Cap is my favorite 2D one as well, but I have still yet to play Link to the Past.
Yeah, well, that's the one that people.
Really want to.
That's the one that people always throws in my face whenever I say that Minish Cap's amazing.
Does a Link Between Worlds count as a 2D or a 3D Zelda in y'all's eyes? Because it's kind of that hybrid.
Yeah, it kind of is.
I'll say 2D.
I count it as a 2D one. It's a 2D Zelda with 3D graphics.
Yeah, that's what most people say, I think.
Yeah.
That was a good one as well.
Yeah.
I like how they changed it a bit with the items and how you could rent them and stuff. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
I struggled with that final boss as well.
Y'all also just kind of reminded me that I did tell myself, I said I was going to buy the Link's Awakening remake because I actually thought it looked really good, and people told me Link's Awakening is really good. And I just never did. I just never bought it.
Great remake.
Maybe I'll get on that one. Yeah.
You should. It gets on sale often as well, even for an Nintendo game that doesn't happen too often, but it gets on sale. I've seen it at $40 a few times.
Yeah, I might look into that one. I have plenty on my plate right now though, so I'm not.
Oh, I bet. We have another $2 donation from Demicro. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that. I'm a bit late with it, unfortunately, but that was in regards to Pokemon Snap, so you guys will have to answer that one.
I'm fine with talking about Pokemon Snap more.
He says, I think they should make the Labo camera work with Snap.
That'd be nice.
That'd be fun. I could see that.
That might be the case.
People used to say Snap would be perfect for the Wii U because
yes,
it would have been like.
It really would have.
Yes.
What if the game was pushed to the Switch though?
Wouldn't surprise me if we find that out later.
Yeah, if they were like, yeah, this game's actually been in development for a few years. Yeah, I could maybe see it working with the Labo. That'd be fun. I don't have a Labo, so I'm hoping that's more of just like a fun little extra thing than any kind of like requirement that like the game would be lesser for not having it.
Right, it would suck if you like needed it.
Right. One thing, speaking of like, so we were kind of talking about Nintendo a little bit, and Bao, you said something that I thought was very interesting in regards to Wind Waker. You said it was the closest you'd ever played to a perfect game. The game that always comes to mind for me when I think of the closest I have played to a perfect game, and it's a game I feel like most people I know who've played it like it, but I don't know if y'all have played it. Punch Out for the Wii. Have y'all played the?
I played only a few sessions of it. I never like really got deep into it, but it was really fun. And I had like no expectations going into it, so yeah, it was really good.
That is the game that I think of when I think of a perfect game, because like everything it set out to do, it did almost flawlessly. Like when I first played it, I was playing it like, I don't want to say casually, but you know, it's like you can play it like someone who knows nothing about Punch-Out, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna dodge their punch and then hit them, and then hopefully dodge this move and then hit them more, and eventually maybe win. And that gets really hard into the later ones, and it's like, you know, like the later fights, if you do that strategy, you'll still win, but it'll be like, okay, you win by end of third round decision, like you just dodged enough and hit them enough. But I'm like, I still won. And then you go into like every fight has, you can go replay any fight, and they have these like objectives, and you'll see things that are like, oh, beat this character in round 1 with TKO, and I'm like, how do you do that? Because like everything in that game, it's like visual and audio cues. Like there are speed runs of people playing that game blindfolded because it's so perfectly in sync. You can just follow every single aspect of it. There's no necessarily randomness to it. It's just perfectly put together. And it's also one of the only Wii games I can think of that gives you the choice between motion controls or not motion controls, where sometimes I'll actually just choose the motion controls because they're fun and they work.
Yeah, I use motion because they were super fun. Although it really will make your arms tired after a while.
Oh, they will. That was actually, for a while, that used to be my workout, is I would get those like the weights that you can wrap around your wrists. I'd like put those on and just play a few rounds of Punch-Out.
Cool.
That was my workout regimen for like a week, and then I got bored. But I love Punch-Out on the Wii. It's probably in my top 5 video games, so nice. I'm kind of glad I got to mention. I got to sneak this one in there.
Nice.
I'd love to see you get a modern port.
Yeah. You should. It aged well.
Yeah, it's it's one of those games where I'm like, the only thing I want from it is more. Like that's, like I think the closest thing I have to a complaint in that game, really, and this is not a complaint. It's just it's all of the fighters speak the language of where they're from, which I love. Like Glass Joe speaks French, and Bald Bull speaks Turkish, and Great Tiger speaks Hindi. I love that. But I do wish they had subtitles so that I actually knew what they were saying. I think you can go on like the Punch-Out wiki, and they have like translations for all their lines. But yeah, I do kind of wish they had subtitles.
But that was an interesting pick as well. Punch-Out Wii. It's been a while since I talked about that game.
Punch-Out for the Wii is a great game. Highly recommend.
I played it casually a few times as well, and I remember liking it, but never got it personally. Never owned it, so maybe I will pick it up at some point.
It's one of those games. It's not something a lot of people think of as like, oh my god, amazing. But I think those that do are happy to sing its praises.
I bet, definitely. I never heard bad things about it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, now I really want to talk about something. It is my obscure pick, but I gotta say, other than like Ace Attorney, which we talked about, if it counts, I was never really into visual novel for the only reason that I just never played any. last year I tried a few, and I really like the genre now. I really do. Like, I'm actively looking for more to play and to breed through. But the one that I want to talk about today, and hey, there's 17 of you listening, plus you two guys. If I can sell one copy of this game, I'll be really happy because I adored it. Now, this game goes by the name of Raging Loop. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it.
I'm familiar with it. I've not played it, but I have friends that have sung its praises. So I will let you explain what it is.
It is.
I've not heard of this, actually.
Okay. Kind of hard to explain, but this story is extremely original. In the chat, please let me know if any of you played it. I'd like to know. Well, you're a random dude, and you head into the forest at one point. It starts, and you feel like it's gonna be a really like unoriginal story. Well, you go around in the mountain with your bike, and you have an accident, and you end up in some type of loop in an external village, like a faraway village. You have nowhere to get out because there's a loop where you can't get out of this village, and there's some very crazy things going on in this village. Now, it's been like, I played it at the beginning of last year, when it came out on Switch, and there's some type, oh boy, I don't remember the name, but they have a circle of, kind of like a circle of trust, where it happens once a week. Every villager in the village, they get together and they have to vote. They have to vote for who are they going to sacrifice. And the reason for that is simple. They have to sacrifice, well, it's not that simple, actually, but there's one reason for that, and it's the fact that there's werewolves in that at night, they come out at night, and they kill one people every night. Okay, and then the cycle comes back. I think it was like every month. It's really hard to explain. It probably sounds weird, but they have to kill someone every day to avoid killing a to have the chance to kill a werewolf, because there's no other way to kill a werewolf than by sacrificing someone who hopefully is a werewolf. But there's a lot of strategy, and there's a lot of thoughts put into who they're gonna choose to kill. There's tons of different endings, depending on who you kill every single day. You might get a different ending. It's crazy. I'm definitely not doing it justice because I'm struggling to explain what it is, but it's really, really nice. I adored it.
Yeah.
Like Coogan mentioned right now in the chat.
It's a tricky one to explain, but yeah, it was summed up to me as visual novel, anime, ultimate werewolf, and I was like, all right.
It's great, and the thing is, with this one, I got it for cheap on sale on Switch, and I was like, okay, I like the art style and stuff. I think it looks great. I'm gonna give it a chance. When I read the description, like on Amazon, before ordering it, I was like, that's probably a average werewolf story. And honestly, I can't blame them, because you can't describe this game and it looking great. You have to experience it, honestly. It's cheap and it's amazing. I adore it.
Yeah. So speaking of, you just reminded me of a game that I think comes out, I think next month. I don't remember the date, but I think it comes out in March, called Gnosia. Which, for those of you that don't know, is another werewolf kind of based visual novel. But the thing with this one is it is, as far as I can tell, procedurally generated. So it's not like an ongoing story, but it's done in rounds, and it's like you have just this. I want to say it's like an insanely weird cast of characters. You have like some that are like normal people. I think there's like a robot there. There's like a furry dude, or like it's just this insane cast of characters. And the thing is, who the culprit or werewolf or whoever is basically different every time, and it's like every single round the same characters could have completely different personalities or motives. And I remember, like, it came out in Japan, I think like over a year ago or something.
Okay.
It's finally coming here, and it scored really well. I completely forgot about it until like literally a day ago when someone I follow on Twitter was like, yeah, remember this game? It's coming out. And I was like, oh. And you just reminded me of that game when you mentioned Raging Loop, because yeah, it's that very much like deductive reasoning, but it's done in short bursts. I don't know if it'd be a good game to play with like buddies or anything, but
what's the name of the game you said? It's
it's like I don't know if you're supposed to put any emphasis on the G. but it's like Gnosia. It's Gnosia.
Okay.
It's probably Nausea.
Yeah. It's like I always want to put like a little bit of an emphasis, like Nausea, but I'm like I don't know.
It reminds
yeah.
me of Gnosis from Xenosaga, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
also a silent G.
Or I should just remember it like gnome. But yeah, so there's that one. And then yeah, Bao, you a visual novel fan? Any visual novels you wanna?
I've been trying to get more and more into visual novels, which is why I recently played Danganronpa V3.
Okay.
As for Raging Loop, I just put it on my wish list because you guys made it sound interesting. Nausea, I just found out like literally yesterday. I was like, oh, this seems really interesting. How have I not
Saw it
heard
on
of this?
Twitter yesterday as well. I just typed it into Google, and yes, I saw some art on Twitter. It looks great.
But other
Yeah.
than that, I've actually, it's kind of funny to admit this, but most of the visual novels I play are more of the, not how to pronounce it, eroge genre.
Eroge, I think it is, because I think it's Japanese, so it's like eroge. I don't know.
But yeah,
Um,
that. Most of them I play are of that nature. Or just ones like Fate Stay Night that are like story driven, but they have those erotic elements in them.
You
Yes,
play the ones
Japan.
that are not for good girls and boys. to dust off the Smash Bros.
Yes, but
Um,
they're usually more constrained. Like Fate Stay Night, despite the fact it's story based and actiony, it still has those scenes in it. So
See, I'm kind of the opposite. Like I've had people be like, it's like, oh, play this dating game. It's okay. There's no like nudity or anything in it. I'm like, I'm
that's
just
the
kind
best
of.
part.
Yeah, see, I'm one of those people. I'm just like, then what's the point? It's like if I'm gonna play a dating sim, I'm like, I want to just be like complete degenerate. Okay. I'm gonna embarrass myself here. I bought this one for a laugh. It was on the Steam sale. I bought a game called Friendship with Benefits, which is basically just a like, not specifically My Little Pony, but very clearly inspired, and it is not for good girls and boys. I played like 40 minutes of it and I had to shut it off. I was just like, oh my god. Alright. I have to go take a shower and do the dishes and tell my mom I love her.
There is one big visual novel I want to try that I've heard everyone hype to the moon and back, and it's called Ume Neko When They Cry. Apparently there's an anime based on it too, but I want to try the visual novel.
That recently came out, right? I heard about it as well. I think if we're talking about the same thing.
Is that the one that, like, there? Is it there was like a Vita one or like?
It might be on it, I'm not sure. You might recognize the main girl from it. She has like blonde hair. She looks like a duchess or whatever, kind of like
Okay.
a evil
Oh yeah,
look
yeah.
on her face.
Yeah, I'm looking it up. Okay.
Yeah, everyone says this game is like top tier visual novel, so I'm really looking forward to time soon.
One visual novel. I play a lot of visual novels that are not for filthy degenerates. But one that I definitely, two that I recommend, I'm gonna throw out is one is Valhalla. If you've never played Valhalla, highly recommend. And it's specifically spelled. It's like VA-11 space HALL-A.
Is that bartender game?
Yes, yeah. Valhalla cyberpunk bartender action.
Oh.
And it's like you're in this like cyberpunk bar called Valhalla, and just customers come in and
I heard
just
about
talk, and it's very much a visual novel. It's not about like dating or anything. It's just about like you're a bartender. The other one I want to recommend, very similar vibes, is one called Coffee Talk. This was like my number 3 game of last year. I loved it. You're just like, you run a coffee bar in like Seattle, but it's like a fantasy Seattle. So you've got like some of your customers, you'll have like a werewolf or a vampire, or like there's this couple where it's like this elf that's dating a succubus, and it's just, yeah, it's pure. I mean, it really is. It's purely just talking. There's no like super exciting gameplay. You just occasionally make drinks for people. Really, the closest thing you have to gameplay is you can make them the wrong drink if you want. Much harder to do that in Valhalla because you actually have to like balance your money and like pay bills and stuff. But yeah, like those are both really good visual novel games that I highly recommend. For anyone who's kind of looking into the genre.
I've heard of both of these, and like I have friends that hype them up. I've never played them, but like every time I hear someone talk about them, they're saying like, yes, even if this doesn't sound appealing to you, you have to try them. You'll be addicted.
Mm-hmm.
I played Valhalla a few years ago on stream, and my biggest regret was that I did not play it when it was new. Like I was just like, I wish I'd played this sooner. I really did, because I fell in love with the characters.
I have to check some of those out, definitely, because I loved visual novels, but I'm looking for ideas, so you guys gave me a few that I wrote down. I'll definitely give them a shot. I also liked AI Desumnion Files. I don't know if you guys...
That's yet another one I keep hearing about. I haven't played.
That's one I keep hearing about.
That's a very good one as well. Batman Telltale, Coogan as well, I played, was great.
Do we count Telltale games as visual novels?
I personally don't. I kind of count them more as like point-and-click adventure games.
Yeah.
Over visual novels.
Yeah.
It's like they're more of a modern take on it, but it's like I don't really see them as novels.
You're right.
I liked Tales from the Borderlands myself. And Wolf Among Us. Wolf Among Us was really good.
That's one that I want to check out. Normally, I don't, for those type of games, I don't really play them when they're not from a series that I like. Like I played the Guardians of the Galaxy one and also Batman, but not the other ones. But Wolf Among Us, I want to try.
Wolf Among Us, I like, weird as this is, I almost think that game is better experienced if you're unfamiliar with the source material. Because then you can really just appreciate it for what it is. I'm
not, actually, so...
I wasn't, like, I knew a little bit about it, like, I'd read a couple issues of the comic, but yeah, I think it's perfectly fine to just go into it without being familiar with the series.
Cool.
Yeah, and supposedly we are getting that season 2, because it was like Telltale was gone, and then they weren't, and then, I don't know, but supposedly we are getting season 2 of that after all, at some point. I don't know when.
We'll keep a close watch on this one. I think Telltale was struggling at some point, right? Didn't they talk about even closing down recently?
They did close
They
down.
did close down. Okay. Well, if they did close down, did someone bought them or something? Because we just got Tales from the Borderlands coming to Switch now.
I think they gave their IPs.
They gave their IPs. Okay.
Yeah, well, because what I remember, it was like they did shut down, and then it was like, because they shut down in the middle of season 3 of The Walking Dead, and then it was like it was like the company that owned them or something. I don't remember who it was specifically. It was like brought like a smaller team back to be like, hey, finish Walking Dead, and then I guess they did, and then. I don't fully know what their status is right now, but apparently they are still kind of doing stuff. Just like I don't know. Maybe it was like whoever brought that smaller team back was like, you guys are the new Telltale. I don't know for sure. I don't want to like spread misinformation.
That makes sense with what we know though. We have two donations from Demi Crow. Thank you so much, dude. $4.
Thank you, Demi Crow.
Thank you, dude. You're awesome. 2 games. Unipop on Switch, which I don't know much about this one, but from what I know, it's kind of like a porn puzzle game or something, or dating sim puzzle game. I'm not sure. If you guys heard of those games, Honey Pop.
Oh yeah. I've played both.
Oh, you played both? Okay.
I've played them. Yeah.
I played the first one.
I've played a little bit because the second one like got shadow dropped. God, I can't even say recently. It was like well over a week. It was like over 2 weeks at this point. I just between like doing stuff for the channel and doing stuff for work, I have not had a lot of time to play the sequel. The sequel's not really doing anything that makes me like it more. I don't know if it's like maybe it gets better later or something. But they're just very silly. Fun match 3s for people who like cute girls.
Okay.
Yeah, they're fine. They're not my favorite adult entertainment games, but I do think just the fact that they have that puzzle element kind of puts them above some other games of that style.
Okay, cool. And then the other game that he brought up is Minecraft Story Mode Season 3. but I'm not familiar with that, and there's a big lull after, so...
The only thing I know about Minecraft Story Mode is that Patton Oswalt is in it.
But I thought there was only one of those, isn't it? Is that like the... No, it's not it. It's Minecraft Dungeons, the Diablo clone?
Yeah, Minecraft Dungeons.
Dungeons. Okay, I'm completely
Minecraft
mixed up.
Dungeons is the Minecraft game that does not have mining or crafting. Like...
Okay.
It's the Diablo clone.
Okay, so story mode. Is it from Telltale actually? Or?
Yeah. Story mode.
Oh, it is. One. Wow. Okay, I didn't even know that existed.
Patton Oswalt plays the main dude.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Telltale also did a Strong Bad game, which is super good.
Which game?
Strong Bad, like Homestar Runner. There's like Strong Bad's cool game for attractive people. Which is the Telltale Homestar Runner, if any of you are fans of that. Actually, that one I do recommend picking up because, like, it was taken off Steam for a really long time, and they, like, just recently brought it back, I think, like, a month or two ago. And they also brought back the Wallace and Gromit Telltale game, which I've never played, but I kind of want to buy for the same reason I just said. It's like, I don't want it to go away.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either. But I like Wallace and Gromit, so I'm definitely curious to maybe try their adventure game one of these days. I'm pulling this up on Steam right now. Like, how much is this? Y'all can talk. I'm gonna look this up. I just don't want dead silence while I look this up.
I was not sure if you were gonna say the answer right now or if we should keep going. We covered most of the list that I had here. I actually have one last thing that I want to talk about. I don't know if you guys still have games and series that you want to talk about before we start to wrap things up.
I pretty much just have one more that was on my list.
Essentially just one for me.
All right. Okay. So we have one left, so we can definitely do that. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Bao, you can know. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Let's hear it.
So the game or series I want to talk about last is one that reminded me of Shin Megami Tensei, and it's the reason I want to bring it up, that many people may not know about, and that is Shadow Hearts on the PS2.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
So there's actually 3 Shadow Hearts games, but the first one in particular is the one I'm talking about. So it's set in, I want to say, 19th century, 20th century? It's basically in Europe, sort of like an alternate Lovecraftian setting. It's a very dark game in terms of atmosphere, and your main character, it's a turn-based RPG, and your main character, he can actually transform into demons during combat. That gave him different elemental and strength buffs. But the tone, like if you're a fan of just dark RPGs that we don't really get a lot, like SMT, then you'll definitely want to play it. And 2, the battle system uses a cool, unique system called the Judgment Ring system, where any action you do from attack to using an item, a ring will pop up on screen. You'll have to basically time it with basically like a roulette. Like you have a roulette with certain spots you have to hit. Certain spots are normals. Of course, there's misses, but there's also criticals. And it goes for even items. So let's say you use a reviving item and you land your Judgment Ring hit on a crit spot, then maybe you'll come back with more HP, or maybe you'll do extra damage with an attack. It's just a really cool RPG that no one talks about that reminded me of SMT and is why I played it in the first place. And it's just really good in general. Battle, story, music. Definitely try it out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned this one. I gotta say, there's one thing that's been on my mind and still is until this day. Whenever someone brings up Shadow Hearts, because of how unique the combat system is in this game, I always also think of Baiten Kaitos, which both combat systems are very different, but they're so unique that I always think about those two games at the same time.
I love Baiten Kaitos. I've been meaning to talk about that game for years, and
they have to bring him back. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Who made those already?
Last year.
Oh, you did?
Oh, nice. I will have to check that out. I didn't know that. Yeah.
I will as well.
I've been meaning to do a video on it, but I'm just like, it's just so big. I think it's not one of the only, but it's definitely one of the only ones I own. It's like multi-disc GameCube game. Like these were
Symphonia was like that too.
Okay, I didn't know Tales of Symphonia was. I know, like, I think one of the Metal Gear Solids also was, but But yeah, it's like I think they're the only ones I own that are multi-disc. But yeah, I loved them both. I love the first one in particular. Like the second one, they got like actual voice actors who know what they're doing. If you actually look up the cast of the second one, it's like the girl who played Tommy Pickles is in the second one. The guy who plays Mojo Jojo is in that game. Like, it's really interesting to look at the cast for that game. But the first one has like, I swear they got like interns that were recording in different states. I don't even like the voice acting.
I looked it up for my video. What happened?
Oh, really? I'll watch the video for sure. But I want to be clear. I love the voice acting in the first game. It's just not good.
Yeah, it's not good, but you love it eventually.
I actually really liked Liud's voice. I thought he did a pretty good job. It really grew on me. But yeah, Baten Kaitos, very, very fun series of RPGs. And Shadow Hearts, you said there's 3 games, right? Like, I played, I don't know if it's I don't think it's the first one, either the second or third. I played, Covenant, I think is what it was, Shadow Hearts Covenant.
Yeah, that's the second one.
Okay, I played that one. I remember liking it. I did like the ring system, because, like, I'm a fan of any RPG where it's like, it's not just, oh, you pick attack and then you attack. I like when there's something the player can kind of do for input, and that's why one of my favorite battle systems ever is actually still just like Mario RPG, because they have like those, it's like, oh, if you hit A at the right time, you'll do slightly more damage or take slightly less damage, and it's like,
I'm in the same boat. I love that in RPG.
Yeah, it's like that's such a small little thing, but it's like it adds so much for like players to actually do. And I appreciate it.
Definitely. Those games are way too overlooked, both Shadow Hearts and Baten Kaitos.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see your video right here. Oh boy, okay. Oh no, it's a stream that I found. You'll have to send us that video, Bao. I'd like to see it for Baten Kaitos.
Yeah, I definitely want to check it out, because I love that game, and I hardly ever hear anyone talk about it, so...
Who made those games already? Because I have to Monolith Soft?
It was Monolith, but Monolith and Tri-Ace, and then I think Namco published them, I think, back when they were Namco and not Bandai Namco.
Okay, so we have our reason why it's so amazing. So there's definitely no reasons not to bring him back now.
Yeah. Just to quickly throw out 2 things. For anyone out there who's never played Baten Kaitos, I'm just going to highlight 2 things the game does that I think make it well worth playing. Okay, so 1, there is an entire dungeon that is basically just the Tower of Druaga, the classic Namco arcade game. And it's like, it's just so weird having this like retro dungeon RPG in a game like this. And 2, one of my favorite moments ever in the entire game is you get thrown into jail in a town that is made out of like cake and candy, and you escape from the jail in the exact way that you think you would. And that's all I'm gonna say. Like, it was such a just imaginative and fun world. And I really, really liked it.
Nice.
Yeah, so the last kind of game / series / genre I kind of had on my list, because these are games I play so much of. There's literally like 3 coming out this year that I am easily going to spend over 100 hours each on, is I love just casual life simulator games like Harvest Moon and Story of Seasons and Rune Factory. The main one I actually wrote down was Stardew Valley.
Oh, yes.
For anyone out there who's not played, Stardew Valley is a game I bought. It was one of the first games I bought on the Switch. I bought it digitally, and I have a physical copy now. And I actually did not play it for a really, really long time. And the reason I didn't is because I knew I was going to be addicted and not play anything else. I was just going to lose my life to Stardew Valley. And then last March, when things started kind of going south, and it was like, oh, I guess I'm going to be staying inside now. That is exactly what I started doing, was playing Stardew Valley. And I think I have put, like, probably over 500 hours into it. Because I love those games. I love, like, I can recommend plenty of Harvest Moon / Story of Seasons games. I did a stream for the Friends of Mineral Town remake a while ago, and someone was like, if you've never played the series, which one do you recommend? And as good as the series is, and as much as I can recommend some of them, the main one I would recommend is just play Stardew Valley. It's easily one of the best games of that genre. Like, if you are into that type of game of just like farming and life and dating and mining and fighting and fishing and just all the stuff you can do in that game, Stardew Valley is just incredible, and it is one of my favorite video games of all time. And
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you up.
I was just gonna say I knew I wanted to mention it today, and that
oh yeah, I want to back you up.
The thing I always hear about that is that people don't put like 10, 15 hours in the Stardew Valley. Is always within the hundreds.
Oh yeah,
that always kind of amuses me.
There's a great Brental Floss song called "I Stardew" that I highly recommend. When we're done with this, I just very fun little Stardew Valley song about just how fun and addictive it is.
And I can definitely back you up with everything that you just mentioned, because unlike you, I don't play any of those games. I don't. For whatever reason, Stardew Valley's art style, when it came out, it just clicked with me, and I was like, okay, I'll give this type of game a try. Hoof, I never fished for so many hours in a row in a video game, but everything's great in this game, especially the little fishing. It's great. I just found it so addictive to have like different sizes of fish and so many different types and stuff. I feel like that's such a great game.
It really is. Yeah, highly recommend.
Oh yeah, I should probably play more games in this genre, because I loved what I played, at least of Stardew Valley.
Well, so what I think is very interesting, this one comes out next month, is so the idea behind Stardew Valley, for anyone who hasn't played it, is basically the guy who made it, whose name I forget his real name, Concerned Ape. He was just like, I love Harvest Moon. I want to make my own Harvest Moon that's filled with the stuff that I love, but also the stuff that I wish the series did. And that's why it's so good, because he's just a genuine fan who was like, by the way, one guy made this entire game. Fantastic music, art style, everything is so good. One dude. So impressive.
That's insane.
Yeah. That's crazy, yeah.
And the music is great. I love the soundtrack to that game. But yeah, so he was just like, I'm going to make this game filled with what I love, and then stuff that I wish the series did. And what I think is very, very funny is the series that Stardew Valley was based on, Bokujo Monogatari, or Farm Story, or Harvest Moon as it was known here, and now it's Story of Seasons. We have the new Story of Seasons coming out next month, and when you look up gameplay for that game, it very clearly took a lot of inspiration from Stardew Valley. Like, so now the real series is doing stuff that Stardew Valley did, and I'm very excited. And then we also have the Natsume Harvest Moon, the quote unquote Harvest Moon, coming out next month that actually looks okay. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll let you all know if it's terrible, but right. the Natsume Harvest Moons have not been good.
The next one that I want to play in this genre is Sakura Rise of Ruin.
That one was fun. I liked that.
I heard good things about that one.
Yeah, it's a little finicky in places, but it's rewarding and satisfying. I can recommend it.
Nice. Want to go over Demi Crow's question here with another donation. Thank you so much, dude, as always. That's amazing. His question is, you guys will probably have to help with this one. He says, how powerful is a 3DS compared to PSP, PS1, and 2? And then he says, I want to try to get Android on a 3DS. Well, first question I'll try to answer, but second question, I can't help you. I don't know if that's possible. He says, well, from what I know, there's a few PS2 games that are running great on 3DS. So Dragon Quest VIII comes to mind first. It's a very good port.
As well.
Yeah, there's a few games that are running great.
Metal Gear Solid. Someone said that port didn't actually run that well, but maybe that's Metal Gear Solid 3
existed, honestly.
that was like super early 3DS. Like
I think it was, yeah.
It? Like,
yeah, I think it was. I don't know if it's able to emulate too many of the PS2 games. Obviously, it's probably the devs that have to put a lot of work into it because they have to optimize it properly. I think overall, in general, though, I think it's probably weaker than a PS2, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
It's hard to tell.
I never know console strengths.
It's hard to tell, but great question. What about putting Android onto a 3DS? I can't help you.
I'm in the modding scene and I've never heard of that. So.
Yeah.
That I have no idea.
That's an interesting thing. Interesting
yeah,
goal, though.
I just have no idea. So
I learned today that my phone can run Citra, so I'm a complete emulation newbie. So, my last pick for game/series that I wanted to talk about is actually, I'm kind of cheating with this one, but it's all the same team, or at least the same style of game. It's Bravely Default, Bravely Second, Bravely Default 2, Octopath Traveler, and Project Triangle that we got last week. All those games together, I feel like they share a ton of similarities, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts on those. I liked them. Bravely Second, not so much. Bravely Default, yeah, I think that for the type of story that it was aiming for, the gameplay is amazing, music is amazing as well. I don't like the art style so much, but I do adore Octopath Traveler's art style though, and Project Triangle, which should be renamed to FF Tactics, looks amazing. That looks amazing.
My I guess history with those games. I grew up on Final Fantasy, so when I found out they were basically making a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy V for Bravely Default, like my hype was through the roof. And then I played it and I loved it up until like halfway through the game,
Yes.
where a certain something starts happening that I won't go into because spoilers. But before then, phenomenal game. I couldn't put it down. Bravely Second, I never finished that game actually. It wasn't bad, but
Same.
I don't know. It's like story, characters, they weren't all that interesting. I loved Octopath. I understand people's problems with it, how your party doesn't really interact, but that didn't really hinder my experience.
Still fun.
Really fun. Picking up Bravely Default 2 on release day and probably streaming that in 2 days from now. And
nice.
Yeah, 2026, yeah, I think.
So I'm really hyped for that. And I am in love with Triangle Strategy or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, that looks amazing.
As soon as we saw that trailer, I was like, yes, I need this. And then they told us we were getting a demo, and then I played the demo, and the demo was everything I wanted to be, and that's just going to be a day one buy for me now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's an alignment system in this one, or some type of alignment system in it as well. That looks great. I don't know if you experience it in the demo because I didn't have the time to play it yet, but
you do, but you don't really get to see the consequences of your actions.
Okay, I think that's gonna be awesome. To me, my expectations for Project Triangle is to fix the little issues that I had with Octopath Traveler, because they have such a good base, amazing graphics. Tactical RPG is a genre that I adore, so again, that's a big plus. I know the music's going to be fantastic because it was in Octopath Traveler, so I can't wait. Even if I didn't play the demo, I know that's a day one buy for me. Bravely Default, though, I probably will wait until I hear a few reviews. So if you plan on reviewing it, Bao, I'll check it out because I'm not sure. I was a bit let down by Bravely Second, so I'll wait until I hear things about it.
I may do early impressions.
It still looks good, though. I think it looks...
The only issue is the art style. Like, I feel it doesn't really translate well now that it's in HD.
Yeah, it looks... Yes, I agree on that one. I meant the gameplay and the game in general, I think will be great. But I agree that the art style, and that was the thing for me as well, even on 3DS, I felt like it was... It looked alright. Hey, Doze Bear, no problem, dude. Yes, we're still going. We're about to wrap things up, though, and you can watch later. No problem.
My thing, so I played a little bit of the first Bravely Default. I know I didn't finish it. I don't think I got super far into it. It's weird. It's one of those games where it's like I cannot say there's anything about it I disliked. I really didn't have any criticisms. I do like job systems in games like that, so I liked that. And then the new one, Project Triangle or whatever. That's one. It's like I should just play the demo. Like I should just sit down and play the demo, because Final Fantasy Tactics, the original PS1 version, is again, I think I've said this a couple times in this video now, probably in my top 5 favorite games.
It's amazing.
I love the original Final Fantasy Tactics, and this game actually does feel like it's like I like Tactics Advance. I think it's a good game. I don't think it necessarily captures what made Tactics so good. This game actually seems like it might be trying to do that. So I'm a little more like it's one of those things where it's like I'm hopeful but very, very cautious. And I shouldn't be. And it's like I don't know why I am. But yeah, so one of these days I should sit down and play the demo and see if it's something that's for me. Because I also do I like tactics RPGs. I'm probably more into those now than any kind of traditional turn-based. And there's a really real quick. I won't dive too into it, but there's a really good tactics RPG if y'all haven't played it for the PSP.
Yes.
From level 5 called Jeanne d'Arc.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to play that. Actually.
Fantasy retelling of Joan of Arc, and it's
Great game.
It's surprisingly good. The only thing I will say about it is okay. So there's one moment in the story where I don't remember what it is. There's one moment in the story where you have to make a decision. It's like, okay, do we want to go do this thing or do we want to do this thing? And it's basically like 2 missions, and then they kind of dovetail back together. It's not like a big game-splitting thing. But the main thing that does change is you unlock a new party member on each route. And it's like, on one route, you get this mage girl. Don't get the mage girl. You have plenty of other mage characters that are way better than her. On the other route, you get this girl who uses a whip. She's the only whip user in the game, and the whip is phenomenal because it's the only weapon that can attack diagonally. And so that's the only thing I'll say about that game is when you think you're coming up on a choice, pull up a guide real quick, make sure you get the whip girl because she's so much better.
I don't think
it's a good game.
Oh yeah, it really is. I honestly, on the top of my head, I don't think I can name a tactical RPG that I don't like.
I probably could, but not off the top of my head. Like,
I didn't play so many, but all of them that I played.
Would you be shocked if I said I actually dislike Final Fantasy Tactics?
Huh? Why?
That's
To sum it up, essentially, I like the story they told, but I feel like the way it was presented wasn't, it wasn't like the optimal way to explain the story. Like, there's a good story on the surface, on paper, but the way it was executed, I didn't care for. And also, I don't know what it is about the gameplay, but it just never clicked with me. And I tried the game multiple times, and I forced myself to beat it like 2 or 3 years ago. And it just never clicked with me. I don't know why. And it's a shame, because obviously I like tactical RPGs, and I like Final Fantasy. Yeah. So it should have been a match made in the heavens, but...
Yeah, fair.
It's crazy to hear that, because, man, okay, it's cool. I mean, I've yet to play Xenogears, so we all have our little things.
I will say, Final Fantasy XIV has a raid in it dedicated to Final Fantasy Tactics from the same writer that actually gives you a conclusion to the Tactics story that I really like.
I do gotta look into that.
Cool. Oh, we have Doze Bear giving us $5 donation. Thank you so much. He says, here's to the boys. And he said, wow, you got Strain, though? Why, though? Is that because you're a celebrity, John?
I don't know. Like wait, did he ask why though? Like,
yeah. He said, wow, you got Strain, though? Well, what?
Oh, why
He's just impressed.
Yeah.
Why'd you get that guy?
Well, he's a cool dude. That's the reason why.
Oh, thank you.
He says, love you. He says, love your content, though. I never comment Strain lol. And then he says, stop trying to steal Shadow's podcast. Bow.
Oh, sorry. I'll shut up.
Oh, no, he's talking about my other podcast I'm on. It's like a little part of sorts where I'm pretty much taking over.
Okay, I'm the outsider here, but all right. Well, hey, yeah, thanks for the donation and thanks for watching. It's I'm happy to be a part of this. I was kind of joking when the year started. I was like, hey, it's a new year. Who wants to invite me onto their podcasts? Because I want to do them. So I was very happy when Dave invited me. So very happy to be part of this.
Same. I was glad to have you on, and I'm watching the. I've been watching the. What? Oh boy, I'm gonna destroy the name. HPMP is your podcast with Shadow Elite, I think. Bao. Yeah, I love the podcast. I like you guys. You're funny as hell. Most of the time, I'm just listening, and I'm like, oh boy. When someone gets angry, or every single time that you talk about the Trails of series, it gets crazy, and I'm like, whoa, boy, here we go. Or that FF9 debacle was also interesting.
It's funny because we all have opposing opinions on a lot of things. That just generally creates friction.
I really think that what makes your podcast so great, honestly.
I'm gonna go play some Trials of Cold Steak. And like I said, I'll never get the name right, so I'm just.
That was it for my ideas that I wanted to talk about for games recommendations today. Did you guys have anything else that you wanted to talk about, or are we ready to wrap things up?
You know, one quick question. I kind of mentioned this before we started recording. I don't want to spend too much on it, especially because we already talked about like my top answer. So again, not Atlus games. What is a title or like just one or two titles coming this year that y'all are excited for?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
what's
that's right.
Upcoming. For me, the biggest one for me, like I said, we talked about this earlier, is new Pokemon Snap. I am so hyped for that game. That and maybe like No More Heroes 3 looks super fun. But yeah, how about you guys? What's some upcoming? Because obviously we're getting Nocturne in 5.
Yeah.
Maybe 5. I'll believe it when I see it. But yeah, what are some non-Atlus games that y'all are looking forward to this year?
Definitely No More Heroes 3 as well. Don't particularly care for Snap myself. I'll pick up Skyward Sword. I understand the problems that people have with the pricing, and that's okay. But for me, I think it's worth it, so I'll pick that up. What else is coming out this year? I'll pick up Judgment. That's coming out on PS5 because I skipped it on PS4, so that's another one that I want.
Okay. Famicom Detective Club is coming up.
Yes, that looks amazing. I want a physical edition though.
I want to buy it. Like, I'm gonna buy it digitally just because, like, I want to support this. I do not want Nintendo to think this is a game people don't care about.
Agreed.
But if they do a physical, I will absolutely double dip on this one.
So that's one that looks great. Yeah, great pick. I'll pick up Ratchet and Clank, but I'm not paying $70 for that. I'll definitely wait for a price drop. I'm not the biggest Ratchet and Clank fan, but once it's cheap, I'll get it. I picked up the other PS4 one when it was like $20, and I liked it. So that's a game that I'll buy.
Oh yeah, and I forgot. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection comes out tomorrow. I'm actually kind of excited for that one.
I suck way too much to play that.
That's one I was really hoping for a physical one, but I don't think they're doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's just digital. I haven't found anything that says otherwise.
Huh. I'm too bad at those type of games, so I'll skip that one.
I also suck at those types of games, but I played the PSP one, like Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins, which was really, really good. And they had like a nice mode for people that suck. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
And this new one seems like it also does. So I'm like, yay, I will play the I'm bad at video games mode, please.
I have a blank on what else is coming up this year.
Yeah, we're still early in the year, so plenty of stuff hasn't fully been announced yet.
Definitely. 2021
As I talked
games.
about earlier, I am looking forward to new Snap, of course.
Yes.
Monster Hunter is probably my first truly big game.
Oh yeah, that's
year,
right.
That's next month.
Oh,
really hyped for that.
Yeah. Are you hyped for was it Monster Hunter Stories 2, the RPG, the Pokemon RPG one?
I only played the demo Stories, never really jumped into it, but I think I'd rather go back to that first before I buy 2 for like full price.
Okay. I was kind of surprised they haven't. I mean, maybe they still will, but I'm kind of surprised they haven't announced a port of the first one for the Switch, because the second one seems like such a direct continuation.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine is like super hyped for it, and he was bummed it wasn't shown at the direct. But a third game I'm really looking forward to that is technically already out, but it's in early access, is Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh yeah, that's one that I
nice.
want to check out. I like the other ones.
I only recently got into those types of games with Divinity Original Sin 2, but I was like addicted out the gate. And I know if I play Baldur's Gate now, I would just want the rest as soon as I'm done with Chapter 1, so I'm just gonna wait.
Yeah.
I've read Diablo 2 remake that just got.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
that's right. They did just announce that. I forgot about that one.
What about Ys 9 on Switch? That's one that I want.
I am not a Ys fan myself.
Okay.
A buddy of mine is a huge Ys fan, and he is like his like I've never even been remotely interested in the series, but his excitement is so infectious that I'm like, all right, maybe I'll try it. I don't know. Like he is so hyped for that.
We have one final question and one final donation from Demicro. Thank you so much, dude. He says, what's worse? That's very random, Demicro. What's worse, SMT9 or Atlus' Attack on Titan? I'd say Attack on Titan, even if I didn't play any of them, but from what I've seen, at least SMT9 has some quality.
I haven't played the Attack on Titan game. I always wanted to, but never got around to it.
Not the Koei Tecmo one on Switch and PS4 though. He's talking about the one that Atlus published in the West, which is the 3DS one.
I remember it. Yeah, I
That's
didn't play it, but I remember.
not a great game.
I think my actually kind of the closest I have to a memory. This is a little bit of a tangent. Is when Atlus published that game, they did a contest, and they were like, submit your Attack on Titan fan art for a chance to win a copy of the like colossal edition of the manga, which is like I think it's like the first 5 books in this like giant paperback. And I just submitted like a little drawing of the Colossal Titan, and they were like, "You won! Send us your address." And I was like, "Finally, Atlus is sending me free stuff." That's the only thing Atlus has ever given me.
Interesting.
I never played the game though, so I can't say which is worse. As someone who's not like I liked Attack on Titan fine. I've really only watched the first season, so I don't know what happens. But I didn't play the game, but 9 is actually a game I want to play, so I'm probably just going to say 3DS Attack on Titan is probably worse.
Well, at least SMT9 runs fine.
Yeah.
Attack on Titan on 3DS is known to be a broken game.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't know that. 9 needs to get like Nocturne got the HD. I want 9 to get like HD, so we can actually get it. Like,
I think Digital Devil Saga 1 and 2 are next. Personally,
that'd be good too.
Same engine, very similar to Nocturne.
Do you think they would package them together or sell them separately again?
I think they would package them together. At least I hope so.
I would hope so. Like,
oh
like
yeah.
How they keep releasing 10. Yeah, but you know how they keep releasing 10 and 10-2 bundled together for like every console. I think that's what they need to do with Digital Devil Saga.
Oh yeah, definitely. And please, both on the cart, if Switch, not a code.
That'd be good too.
Because FF102 was on a code. But at least, anyways, you don't really want to play FF102, so it's cool. All right, so that was great, guys. We gave a bunch of series and games that we enjoy, and we had way more games and series in common than I thought we would. Still some very interesting picks that were obviously different because of how obscure they are, but still a bunch of games that we played in common.
I felt a little bad at the beginning when we were just talking about like JRPG series that I'm like, I've never played them.
It's cool. I think there was a good balance of like, I never played this one, Bao never played this one, John never played this one. I think we had a great balance.
For sure. Yeah, everyone go play Squids Odyssey.
I checked, and it's $3, so I'll get it.
All right.
I'll get it for $3.
Yeah, let me know what you think.
If I put an hour or two in it, it's worth it. If I spend more, well, it's even more worth it. So it's cool. It's probably gonna stay on the backlog for a while though, but at least I'll have it.
That's fine. Yeah.
So hey, thank you so much to everyone who enjoyed the podcast. I think it was a lot of fun. Hey, we almost went in for 3 hours. So thank you so much for your time, guys. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. Time flies. Time flies. Again, everyone. Those 2 guys, their link is in the description below. They make awesome content. I highly recommend checking them out. And thank you so much to everyone who stayed. Thanks to both of you guys. I enjoyed my time today. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Pleasure being on.
We will see you